exhausting, I don't know, accomplishment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are now in Northern Ireland after our first race in Australia. Here for the Belfast Tourist Trophy in the HRSC Carrera Mundial 2024. Of course, we're here in our wonderful 1950 sports cars. I'm joined today by Seb. My name is Nicholas Hillebrand. I'll be your lead commentator today. And very quickly, introduce yourself, Seb.
Yeah, I'm not a regular at GSRC, but I step in where I'm needed, and I'm needed today with the big race here at Dunrod. I'm not very familiar with it, but I fell in love watching some of the track action in practice and qualifying already.
Absolutely great to hear. Here's, of course, a quick view of our calendar again. The 3-hour Tasman special led us off 2 weeks ago on September 14th. That was, of course, won by the number 5 Rafa Racing Club Favero 37P, driven by Ross McGregor. Now we're heading into the second round, the Belfast Tourist Trophy at Dundrod. Difficult race for sure, with 42 laps distance, one of the 2 distance-based races, instead of the time-based races as we have for the remainder of the series. Next up, round 3, the 6 Heures du Grand. After we take a brief little gap break in October, on November 2nd, 6 hours at the Grand Circuit, modeled, of course, after Le Mans in 1967, which is pretty much the same circuit with slight minor changes compared to what these cars in the 50s race. Next up, after that, the round 4, 4 Heures des Ardents at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, also the 14-kilometer historic variant of the circuit. And after that, finally, the Grand Prix de William Grover at Monaco on December 14th to ending the season. 100 laps around that circuit. Here we have a quick view over our circuit, exclusively public roads, and still all present today. So if you're ever in Northern Ireland, if you're in Belfast, want to check this out for yourself. Of course, the surroundings have changed a little bit, but the entire circuit is still there. We're starting off there just before Rushy Hill, 12.146 kilometers, or if you are using the Imperial system, 7.547 miles, around 28 corners. This race, of course, was pretty much stopped after, well, it actually led to Mercedes-Benz quitting motorsports in Formula 1 and the World Sports Car Championship after a huge crash there in 1955, the year that this racetrack is modeled after by Jim Pearson, of course. One of the great modders of our time for R-Factor 2, GP Legends, and everything else. And let's continue on to the next point here. We see a couple of cars already around. We have the standings, of course. First off, we're starting with the 3-liter plus class, the big sports cars from Favero, Tabor Lagarde, and Jungle Cat cars, of course. Ross McGregor with the number 5 Scuderia Favero car for the Rafa Racing Club, won at Longford, of course. Next up, of course, was Niklas Kirsten in the Lambda Lupi Tabor Lagarde 2T6. Donat Prodan in the Favero 37M, so the customer variant of the car, officially still driving for Scuderia Favero. He has now upgraded to a 37P, so the works model, after his fantastic 3rd place at the circuit in Australia. And in 4th place, Larry Salminen, again in a Tabor Lagarde, would have 1 point less, but he was the most consistent car in his class, which of course brings him an extra consistency point. So not just the overall finishing position gets rewarded, but also the consistency in their driving. In 5th place, we had Erwan Bourgier for Equipe Trisquet in the Lancini. And in 6th place, Mefan Wifleur for Brixarc in the Cummins R54C, the car with the biggest displacement in this field. Next up, we have the 3-liter class. Martin Bayer with a very dominant victory. Not here today, but was certainly there and all over everyone else in the Golini 2T4S, one of the few cars with disc brakes in this field. His teammate, Rhys Gardner, in the Mazzantini 6SGA 25, so the 2.5-liter variant of the 2-liter Mazzantini, finished in 2nd place, securing a very good finish, of course, for the Squadra di Garagisti team. Danny Furman and Lorenzo Van Erven brought their car, the Amici Autosport Favero, into 3rd place, and Max Schrappe finished in 4th place in the Morgenstern SL30S, bringing it home for AMX Racing and bringing home the consistency point again. Next up, we have the 2-liter cars, and once again, it's a Squadra di Garagisti team car that led us away. This time, Matt Wright in the number 32 Mazzantini 6SGA, this time the regular 2-liter variant. And Mazzantini's domination at Longford continued with Matty Shepherd and Ted Ho in the Vulcan Racing number 34. Next up, we had a car from Britain, Neil Stankowski, in the number 36 Wilk Sport car. After that, we had Stefano Tiburzi with another Mazzantini in the number 31 with the Automobili Cavalcanti car. After that, we had Jori Smith in the Hamo Racing OSA T442 with the number 27. And last but not least, Jason Field in the Bofield Engineering Mazzantini 6SGA with the number 29, finishing in 6th place. The 1500 class, 1.5 liter, Jerry Ferry won it with consistency and with really, really good racecraft. Number 43, Golini 1T8S. It was a big battle between disc brake cars and Darren Andrews in the OSA T44 with drum brakes. In the end, Jerry Ferry won out, but Darren Andrews, of course, 2nd place and getting a consistency point. Quentin Chaveto in the Equiptiscile Golini and Mark Johnson in the Brixar Golini rounded out the finishers for the race. Next up, we have the manufacturer standings. We have 1 minute 20 seconds to go before the start. Of course, Favero with the best placement, getting the 1st place. Only the best car of every manufacturer counts. Tabor Lagarde, therefore, in 2nd place, and Lancini in 3rd place in the manufacturer standings. Now we have the starting order. We have Niklas Kirsten on pole position, Donna Prodan 2nd place with now the 37P, Yanni Simoncic in 3rd place, Oskari Kantonen in a 2-liter car in 4th place. Then we have Larry Salmon in the 2nd Tabor Lagarde, then Tom D in the Lancini, Danny Furman in the pole position for the 3-liter class, followed by Jackson Robillard. Max Schrappe and Matt Wright follow up. Matt Wright taking pole position for the 2-liter class, followed by Matty Shepard and Neil Stankowski. Then we have Declan Brush and Mifan Fleur, the 2 big Cummings cars, followed by Jerry Smith and Liam Dolan. Erwin Bougier and Austin Birchfield follow up next with Darren Andrews in the pole position for the 1.5 liter car and Chris Gordon in 20th place. Jerry Ferry in 21st, then Mark Johnson 22nd, Valtteri Manninen, and Jason Field 23rd and 24th. And I think we have to get to the starting grid now, as we're just heading off. And oh, there's a big one. Ooh. That's a big pileup. A lot of people not anticipating the starting grid for the Le Mans start properly, and I think there's a couple of them actually beached there.
Yes, yellow flag is out, cars crashed. Hopefully everyone can rejoin into the race.
I think actually that's the number 17, that's the Amiti Autosport car. They're completely stuck, same as the number 34. The number 34 can actually get themselves back off. But I fear that the number 17 might be beached there, as Robillard finally gets the car around. But meanwhile, at the front, so this basically happened with the pole setters in 3 liter. There's another big one in the back, I think. Oh my goodness me. So yeah, the narrow circuits that claimed a lot of victims in its time, claiming a lot of victims here as well now. Yellow flag in sector 1.
Yellow flag seems to be cleared, so... Oh, or not. Maybe their Austin Powers reversing there at the start-finish still, I don't know.
Oh, we actually have one person DNFing already. That was Jackson Robillard, just getting going after the hold-up on lap 1, and then probably, well, trying to push, or maybe, with suspension damage, caught out in one of the fast sweepers at the beginning and losing a wheel, unfortunately. So our first DNF comes from Écurie Atlantique Nord in the 3 liter class.
And we have already seen how the cars get air over the hills here in Northern Ireland. Oh, and there's somebody off.
Another one. That is... My goodness, who was that? Could barely see that properly. And no, that's Austin Birchfield.
Oh no, what a position.
Bad luck again for him, but it seems that he stayed relatively clear. Is able to turn the car back around, and now we have Donat Prodan making a move around the outside, or trying to make a move at least. has to think better of it. He can't quite get it done. Of course, the Bavaro 37P is very, very all over each other, as they now head down into this very, very fast section here as well. You see just hedges and sheep fences basically just on the sides of the road, and
they're pretty safe.
Yeah, plenty safe. But the cars still, nevertheless, do not like it at all. And Donat once again looking for a move here, almost getting alongside, but still has to think better of it, because now, of course, the long sweeping right-hander ends going into a left-hander, into a hard braking zone, into still a medium-speed right-hander. Just before we get to the last two swinging corners there that lead us to the hairpin, and then towards the quarry at the end of the lap.
So one lap and already 3 DNFs now. Valtteri Manninen, Austin Birchfield and Jackson Robillard. So the track again claims their victims here today in 2024 digitally. And of course Max Schrappe in the Morgenstern, of course. What else?
Yeah, in Schrappe, of course, one of the big veterans from, you know, back in the day when this entire historic craze started with, well, the GP Labs Historic Road Racing Championship, which actually also went here to Dundrod, having a similar start in Crash Chaos. But yeah, we're having a quick replay in a little bit. So we have everyone very carefully, gingerly heading around the hairpin for the first time. And making their way, not downtown, but now towards the quarry section. And here we have the start again, and
oh no!
Someone just didn't... Yeah, I think someone just tried to turn a bit too early. Maybe locked one of their opponents in basically to go straight forward into the earth wall, and
yeah, that must be Jackson, and he got DNF'd as the first one.
Yeah, Jackson got going again after this and lost the wheel in an accident. Then Austin had another accident later on, and then next up we lost Valtteri Manninen for a car who we are racing. As we head now into lap 2.
Yeah, so maybe too much brandy in the pit lane for that start. But these cars are looking so fine here, and as we have already seen some onboards, like the wood of the ladder, the wheel, the leather, and the wood. It looks so good. What a great mod this is for Air Factor.
Yeah, and actually the circuit, this mod version of the circuit, first saw it way back in GP Legends, so a simulator from the late 90s already, as we head into another replay, with Donat Prodan now finally having taken second place. And waiting there, there's the replay, that's Jackson Robillard. So heading into the first corner, and yeah, that is probably with the front suspension also not too happy. Hits the wall there again, and yeah, immediately wheel ripped off the car, and probably the engine suffering, well, terminal damage as well. We have the next DNF here, Max Schrappe.
Oh no!
And oh, actually, I think that might have been a lost connection, because that just went straight away. We have two cars also into the pits, Matty Shepard and Declan Brush for repairs. As we're coming to the next replay, and that is Austin Birchfield. Oh, actually, yeah, that's Austin Birchfield there.
I think we saw that, but that must be the reason for the DNF.
Yeah, he did keep going for a little bit afterwards, but the resulting damage from that incident might have given him the rest, basically. Next up, we also got Jason Field in the pit lane. Next replay.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that is the tricky part. You know, you're obviously heading over the crest there, and with the suspension damage, the front suspension compresses differently, drags him onto the grass, and of course on those bumps, the suspension just sends him around, and actually gets a hit there. I think that was from the 3-liter car of Liam Dolan. We actually got Max Strapper back just now able to rejoin from the pit lane. Of course, has to rejoin now having lost a lap pretty much. But nevertheless...
It is what it is. If the car is okay, let's go racing.
Yeah, and absolutely. And it's absolutely still worth continuing to race because, of course, we have quite high attrition rates in these races. We have Valtteri Maninen here. That was the rear end stepping out, and yeah, that's the rear end instantly ripped off, catching one of the branches in the hedge, and yeah, very, very unlucky for the Jaguar team, or Jungle Cat car. Sorry.
Yeah, not even nearly needing a yellow flag if it stays behind that that green stuff. And not coming back to the track, but yeah, of course, unfortunately, and as we can see, the simulation of the cars is very realistic, and you can lose your wheel just like that, and then your race is over.
Yeah, absolutely. You can still, of course, try to carry back on. You know, sometimes the mechanics can, you know, readjust the suspension a little bit, whack it back into place, get the old hammer out, give it the Jeremy Clarkson treatment. But, of course, not always the case, as we are finally back out of the replay zone and back for the fight of the lead. Bernard Prodan all over the back of the Tabor Lagarde of Niklas Kirsten. Saw the same fight last time, but this time, actually, Bernard Prodan in a works car instead of the customer car. So more power, but also more weight that will be working against him around the twist here, but also faster sections of the circuit. These cars, of course, don't have downforce yet. They actually generate lift at higher speeds. So less grip actually there as well.
Yeah, and they have the biggest engines, more speed available, but as we talked about, it's also possible that a slower class can take the overall victory here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the favorites from not just the crowd, but also the drivers is Oskari Kantonen there. As we have Bernard Prodan now looking down the outside, but thinking better of it as they go through that very tight braking zone. Now getting to another replay for a moment. That's Declan Rush. Rick Zark, number 1, Cummings. Oh, tank slapper coming through the quarry section. And barely keeps it out of his teammate's car in the 1.5-liter class and keeps it away from, I think that was the number 34, that was the Wilk Sports car. That's 36, sorry.
Yeah, also super unfortunate if you're racing close packed and then somebody makes a mistake and you're right behind them, so kudos to catching the car there.
Absolutely, and only having a lighter hit here, but oh, look at that again. Just has to pull back a little bit because there comes the corner. Now there comes lap traffic as well after first repairs. That is the Gofield Engineering Mazzantini of Jason Fields, the number 29, and Kirsten gets held up. Prodan gets held up.
No!
Field gets held up as well. Almost loses it, but keeps it out of each other. And all of this chaos, all of this balls to the throat action there actually leads to Prodan being able to utilize the power advantage he has. 330 horsepower versus 280. Finally going past Kirsten, and from behind we also see that Simoncic closing up in the next Favero.
Yeah, it could have been fatal there, but everyone is still on track, everyone is still racing who was involved in that situation, and it's a fight for the lead. So Prodan now in the lead, Kirsten in P2, and yeah, they are fighting hard. And of course, with P3 now in the mix, we have 3 cars on top after lap 3. which will fight for the win, and we have so much more at hands for the next 2.5 hours.
Absolutely, we're just getting to the end of lap 3 now. We have 39 to go then.
It's Mark
We
Johnson.
have something else, and that's Mark Johnson. That's the Briggs Arc Golini. Finding a very unfortunate, and that is one of the tightest sections of the circuit as well. Very high speed, and that is unfortunately our next retirement already. Really not going well. It was a 4th place for Johnson the last time in Longford, but this time Briggs Arc unfortunately can't rely on him for team points, it seems.
And it seems with that DNF, it's 1 DNF in each class.
Yeah, let's hope it stays like that at max. As we have Gerald Trion actually who missed qualifying and but joined in time for the briefing. So the logistics for Belgian Turtle Racing being a little bit slow, but getting the lead of the class for the moment, and slow and steady, seemingly winning the race for a while. For Liam Dolan now took over.
Oh, that looked weird for Mark Johnson. Maybe also clipped on the left-hander.
Yeah, that might have been. And we have these slight raises right next to the road. So normally for country roads, I'm from Germany, so obviously it's a lot different from where you are. But in Germany, we generally have country roads, and then it goes down on both sides normally. And around here, you have more that the grass actually raises up, so the earth raises up a little bit. It's almost like grass barriers, basically, in between, basically having pretty much a canyon run for the entirety around this lap.
Yeah, of course, that's tricky, and if you're unsettling your car there, you're into the sheep fences here.
Now into the paddock or down the wrong country road, taking the wrong road to Belfast.
Yeah, the scenic road.
But again, this battle's still raging on. And of course, this is one of these interesting battles here because they're not too different in weight. In the end, the Tabor Lagarde, a quite old car concept actually. They first raced in 1949. The car that it was based on, the Talbot Lago T26 Grand Sport. And then, of course, this car was modified again and again to stay competitive, winning in Le Mans in 1950 with the father and son duo of Rosier. And now we have our Tabor Lagarde with 280 horsepower in its 1954 spec. And once again, we see a quick look here. And clipping the inside there, and then Chris Gordon. Look at that. The evasive action and reactions on that man. Absolutely doing Morgenstern Company proud here.
Yeah, of course. Also, we can laugh at this. Of course, it's sim racing, but if I imagine going that fast in these cars in that time, it's absolute madness.
Yeah, absolutely. With narrower tires than we have on road cars nowadays, of course, without slick tires and everything like that, So we still have a very close fight. Jack Welch now as well in 7th place, increasing in class quite a bit and overall position. And Gerald Leon still, obviously not quite on top pace. Fastest lap right now being 8 seconds slower than Liam Dolan's. But Dolan as well, he wasn't that far up in qualifying, but actually managed to just gain his way up through all of the chaos at the start. So right now, looking very, very good for Écurie Atlantique Nord with 2 class leads. Oh, and Kirsten messes up the braking a little bit. Hits Prodan's rear and allows Yannick Simoncic to go side by side with him. And now Simoncic, of course, unleashing that 5-liter V12 and the 4.5-liter straight 6 with 50 horsepower less can't quite fight against that.
Yeah, these are the situations you have to avoid, but in the end, it could have been much, much worse.
Absolutely. So minimal damage there, of course, and just a minor braking error there by Kirsten, and still staying close with the others. But it's these moments where, you know, you already get a little bit heated there. We have a replay here again from the Funny floor. Ooh, and the big Cummins R54C. Not quite expecting that much slowdown from the OSA in the 2-liter class. I think they're basically separated by a good 300 kilos in curb weight. So, yeah.
Also, maybe braking techniques played a role there.
Yeah, of course, quite a bit. And, I mean, both drum brakes, of course, but a lot of different engine braking there, of course. You know, since the bigger engines having a lot more of that, you have to be a bit more careful with the brakes. And the 2-liter cars being a little bit more pleasant to drive. Can brake later, can brake harder, but of course can catch each other out when you're fighting inter-class, but for overall position.
Okay, so that also makes sense that the 2-liter Oscari Kantonen is in P5 overall.
And there's these hard differences between the classes here, of course. And you know, I'm quite glad that I have you along, because you said you have not very much experience in this area. But it's always a joy for me as well to introduce people to this era of racing, you know? Because as we can see here, you know, that, for example, Oscari Kantonen, his fastest lap right now is 8 seconds slower than Rodan. But overall in the race pace, it's not too much of a gap, because the big cars have a lot more difficulty staying consistent on a longer run. And having, of course, bigger fuel tanks as well, that's a lot bigger weight shift, because all these cars, except for the Prosch 505 in the 1.5-liter class, we have one of those, and that's piloted by Steve Carman for Team Fate Racing, currently in 19th overall. That's the only rear-engine car in the field. Everything else is front-engined with the fuel tank in the rear. All these cars were built to handle the most predictable and best with a full tank. So what happens when you all of a sudden start losing all of that weight on the rear axle? Very unpleasant things.
Well, here, great battle. That's the 1.5-liter class, I guess.
Yep. The two Gollinis, both disc brake cars. The cars having 1.5-liter straight 4 engine with around 122 horsepower. And, you know, while these cars are, of course, a lot slower than, well, the battle that we watched earlier, they are still incredibly entertaining to watch, because they are the lightest cars that we have in the field. And because they have so little power, it is very, very important to keep, you know, a very smooth driving style. You know, taking all of the momentum and taking a very error-free driving style. As we have Simoncic around the outside, taking the lead overall now. And, oh my goodness. Look at them with like the different stagger there, inside and outside.
I want an onboard replay of that, of course, if we can manage that. What a battle it is with all the position changes and changes in the lead, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. The Tavola Guards and Favero is very, very close at Longford already, but even closer here in favor of the Tavola Guard. But the Favero Works car still able to stretch their legs quite a bit, of course, every single time in the acceleration zones. The French car, of course, gaining in the corners, and then the Italians gaining on the straights, and a little bit maybe even on the braking zones, or at least equalizing the field. The Tavor being a little bit lighter, about 50 kilos, but the 37P fitted with Grand Prix brakes by the Works team. We have Simoncic, and
there it is.
My goodness. Around the outside, around that long sweeper, barely space for two cars to be next to each other at that speed. Absolutely incredible.
Good stuff, of course. And it looks so fine, it looks so easy for him, but it's so dangerous. I mean, everyone wants to go to the finish line, of course, but also as the winner, so they will risk it. And maybe, I don't know, please correct me, the pit stops will also play a crucial role here.
Yeah, the pit stops could play a big role here because not only, is it about actually making the distance with the fuel tank, but also some people, I know in very good faith, that actually opt to pit another time just so they have a little bit more fuel in the rear fuel tank. So they have, just a little bit more balance in the rear end, a little bit more grip, a little bit more predictable handling. We have the next car here, that is Tom D. That is a DNF. That is a huge crash for the Lancini. And really, really unfortunate for him. After that car got 5th place in class last time around in Tasmania. Having a quick replay here. Lightest car in the class, but no, just hitting one of the beginning of that raised earth wall there and completely breaking the suspension of that car.
Yeah, so calculations were off there with going so narrow to the how did you call it, the grass walls there?
Yeah.
But that also confused me when I drove to Great Britain. Like I had to make a detour, not using the road to London, and have to go through little towns and whatever. And it was also that case, and it's really, I don't know. You get scared if you drive a big car around the scenic routes to London.
It's even more terrifying when you're looking at that they also send buses through there.
Yeah.
So like the double-decker buses, and all these trees obviously not cut at all. So you just have constantly those tree branches slamming into the roof of the bus, into the front windscreen and everything. It's it's almost like a fantasy, like a fantasy setting, like Middle Earth, basically.
Yeah. Maybe that's why it's maybe that's why it is that way. And here with these cars, and back in the day, of course, it's like a minefield if you go too far to the left or right. And then when we see the double jump downhill there, totally great stuff here. And I hope for more overtakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll still see a lot of battles here during this race. Not just, of course, single position battles or like in class, but also just overall with the different classes letting their strengths bear against each other. And one of those examples that I can actually see right now, they're a little bit further away, so about a 4.5 second gap. That's Vifan Floor and Chris Gordon with the Briggs Arc R54C with a 5.4 liter V8 against the Morgenstern with a 3 liter straight 6. So, obviously quite a bit more power in the Cummings, but I think again, I think that is one of the few cases where the 3 liter car is heavier, because the Morgenstern, of course, based on the Mercedes 300 SL. So a rather heavy car, but quite stable, quite friendly for the driver. And obviously the 300 SL Gullwing, very well-renowned sports car, a very well-desired sports car.
What is really interesting for me now, watching this without much knowledge, is that really we have the top 4, the over 3 liter cars, and then in P5 back to S2000 cars, and then again P1 and P2 in the next class, Jerry Ferry and Irvin Bougier. So this is really interesting that the field is so mixed up right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's also helped, of course, by the start chaos that we had. But Liam Dolan trying to do his best now to catch the leaders in the 1.5 liter class, while he's leading 3 liter, of course, himself in the Favero 705M. And it's gonna be I think quite quick battle of 4-cylinder engines, because Jerry Ferry and Erwan Bougier, both of them in 1.5 liter straight 4-powered car, and they're going to be caught by another straight 4-powered car. But Liam Dolan's car, of course, having the displacement of the two cars in the 1.5 liter class combined. And actually, pretty much the power combined as well, so I don't think there'll be too much of a fight when he catches up to them.
Yeah, speaking about fights, this one was a big one, like for Neil Sankowski taking the position here.
Absolutely. And this is also... These are actually two more obscure cars as well, with, you know, the Bristol, modeled after the Bristol 450. And quite peculiar story behind that. Bristol, actually the same company that made warplanes in World War II for the United Kingdom. And because they saw the end of the war coming, they basically went, well, we don't want to fire all of our people, you know, because there'll be a lot less demand for planes and all that. Let's just make an automotive branch and get all the engine workers and stuff into that and make a motorsports brand. And, you know, just British ingenuity, repurposing all of the resources, repurposing all of the capacities that they built up during the war to not have to downscale afterwards.
Yeah, so also airplane manufacturers transitioning, like the air bases when to go, like Silverstone. Great racetrack, but of course before that an air base in the war. So yeah, it makes sense, of course.
Yeah, like a really, really good comparison there, actually. Nice. And well, keeping up with that as well, I think you know, I mentioned the Morgenstern SL30 earlier. You know, after the 300 SL, the only car in this field with direct fuel injection, as it was basically the first series production car that actually did have direct fuel injection instead of carburetors. Everything else here is still powered by 2, 3, or 4 carburetors. And the battle continues to rage on. They make it towards the tail end of the lap. Just a section after Wheeler's corner, making it through this tight little squiggly double left-hander with a right-hand pink section. Now down the hill towards the hairpin. Now for the 7th time this race. And it looks so slow, you know, you're basically thinking they're almost stationary and it feels so slow, but you have to be that close because these cars, they're incredibly heavy. Just under 1,100 kilos. And with these drum brakes, you just don't have a lot of braking power. They really just have to watch out there that they actually, you know, manage to slow the cars down and not overshoot.
So no late moment braking. Instead, be cautious and yeah, be consistent, of course. I mean, we already heard about it. There are also points for consistency, and which I find very interesting because there's also some stuff to gain for people who are not fighting maybe for the first place or podium, and still can yeah, get some racing out of it to be very consistent over the laps and then take a championship point.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, the consistency is basically calculated for every single car from their own fastest lap. And the consistency point is given in each class, of course. So the most consistent car in each class gets 1 point. And it can actually help you quite a bit. You know, we saw in the 3 liter plus and 3 liter classes that they actually scored in 4th place, both of the drivers. They scored the same amount of points as the guys in 3rd. And of course, with the case of Darren Andrews in the 1.5 liter class, he actually manages to keep you know, losing points compared to Jerry Ferry, the race winner, to a minimum, reducing 2-point deficit to 1-point deficit. Once again battling here, making our way out of Levamstown Bridge. Now to Cochrane's Town. Next kink that we are reaching in just a moment. The sign warning the drivers of that kink. There we are. Drivers shooting around that over the crest, over the jump hill. over the second jump hill, through the bottom, and now over the next crest, up to Quarterlands. And these guys, the gap is not really growing in between them, is it, Seb?
No, it's for the last 3 laps, it's 1 second between P1 to P3. They sticking together. Maybe also, as you said, like with the fuel stuff, maybe you know, being in the draft, saving some fuel, having maybe a little bit more in the tank before pit stopping, and have a safer ride behind their competitors.
Absolutely. We also see slightly offset steering from Prodan. So that's actually a little bit of either suspension damage from a side touch or maybe a little bit of rear end damage from the contact with Nicholas Kirsten. So Prodan, despite having suspension damage on the rear and having this offset steering over this incredibly bumpy track, still able to keep in touch with Yannick Simoncic. Incredibly impressive.
Yeah, if you look at the wheel, that's not normal. But what is normal around this track? So hopefully they will stay together and not crash out or whatever. So we have an enjoyable race for, and maybe also there will be some position changing in the pit stops. I'm very, very looking forward to that when it happens.
Absolutely, and of course, these are also the days where they didn't really have, 2 trained pit crews. We don't have 2.5 second pit stops here like in Formula 1. They take quite a bit longer, and needless to say, these cars, they don't even change tires on these race distances. So most of the time, back in the 50s, they actually finished the 24 Hours of Le Mans on the same tire set that they started on. So it tells you a lot about the longevity of these tires as well.
Yeah, very green.
A lot more sustainable than nowadays, you could argue. So I say, we go back to bias fly tires, get rid of slicks. We also have less marbles on the track then, so less of a dirty circuit. And all is well, all is perfect.
Should be enough. And let's get some paper straws, then it's all okay.
Oh, I think modern F1 on bias fly tires would be absolutely a sight to behold, though. Oh, and that's push, barely clipping the grass there.
And I think
while lapping and still keeping up.
Yeah, and I also think there was some change of position, like last lap or maybe even 2 laps ago, because I think Ferry was behind him, but I can be mistaken. Okay, Dolan and Ferry swapped. Okay.
Yeah, Liam Dolan, of course, in the 3-liter class. So actually making efforts now to catch up to his teammate Oskari Kantonen, or at the very least try to place himself between his teammate and Matt Wright for Squadra di Garagisti. Today the only Garagisti driver here, after they are very convincingly leading the team standings as well. And really, really interesting here. Teams, of course, can enter up to 6 cars, but only the top 2 scoring cars will be counted for the team's championship. The nice part is the consistency point also counts towards the team's championship. And basically, if you have a team that enters 2 different classes or 3 different classes, and let's say they win 2 of the classes, they get the winning points for both classes and, of course, consistency points. So a very big incentive, of course, for teams to enter multiple different classes as well.
This time one moment. Okay, it's Oskari Kantonen, of course. He's P1 in the S2000 class, okay. But he has a big gap behind him. It's 56 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I thought I was wrong. that confused me, that gap. But, okay, it still means nothing if he crashes, of course.
Yeah. But, that's just the effect that Oskari has when you give him a 2-liter car around here. So HRSC was now 2 years back. Feels like the years have flown by. And Kantonen back then fighting against Mr. Jake William from GP Labs himself. Jake actually in a Favero 37P as well in that race. And, well, fighting Oscari to try and go for the overall win, but I think Oscari might have actually won out in the end, if I recall correctly. So that was an incredibly impressive display of driving by Oscari back then. And he's, never really stopped showing these impressive drives. As we look back at the overall lead, and again, the top three barely separated by 2 seconds. As we're almost a quarter of the way through to the race.
That's another thing, like lapping the race, lap by lap, being consistent, but also like being so close together doing it, and calculating about a mistake of the guy in front, or maybe even looking too much into the mirror, so getting all the chameleon stuff in there, like 2 eyes looking both directions. So it's very difficult for the podium at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's just a really rough situation as well. We see the traffic there in front. I think that's the Amici Autosport car, the unlucky ones that got stuck on the side of the track the longest. And now basically looking to be lapped, but they already did gain some places back from the people that had to go and repair damage. So let's have a look where they are. 4th place in class, Danny Furman, 19th overall, and around 60 seconds, so a minute behind Chris Gordon, who's in 3rd in his class. We now have the top 3 overall, like, once again going through the quarry section. So tight. You see the body movement of the cars as well. So much body roll, especially on the Favero there, as it's just sliding through the corner, barely holding on to the track. Just a sight to behold.
And also the sound of the cars, it's all great stuff. So we can enjoy that. I mean, of course, maybe it's a better time to be alive right now, but in the end, that we can reproduce this with these simulations and with the effort of people going there, making measurements about the track, and of course having the cars in this simulation. Yeah, good stuff.
It's even more impressive when you look at onboard trackside videos, because they actually raced Dundrod up until quite recently, but with motorcycles.
I saw that.
And it's really impressive still how, despite now we have obviously the more modern circuit, it's still really, really impressive how close to reality this circuit is, while it is from a time from way before laser scanning and all that,
Yeah, right. I mean, in the end, if you're taking your time, measuring out any bump here and any jump here, of course it works. But yeah, laser scanning is another thing. And if I just see that the track record is 4:42, I think we are quite good races here tonight at the track. I mean, of course, the motorcycle is faster, but yeah, this is still... If you would put some of these drivers in the cars back in the day, they would have at least have the training from the sim to compete there, I would say so.
Absolutely, but one thing that we also have to consider, since we have this pretty much 20-second offset here with the real life lap time and the simulator lap time, we have to say, of course, these cars, they are decently accurate overall, even though we're still doing a major overhaul for them to basically appear again in 1 or 2 off-season events in the new year. But the main thing about this is, these cars, they just didn't race them on the limit back then, simply because you can see here, you make one mistake, you crash, and then generally, you know, if you're not wearing seatbelts, or even if you are wearing seatbelts, the car just basically bent around you. They basically had a fuel tank rupture or anything, and that chance that you would die was quite big back then.
Yeah, to make a movie quote, if you die, you die.
Exactly.
Yes, of course. I mean, if you are sitting in the real life car, I don't think that people, I don't know, even in iRacing, people doing Nordschleife times, which are ridiculous, they would never be in the mood to do that in real life.
Oh, but we have another look here. So we have Zenkowski down the front stretch. And we have, I would quickly ask the direction to look back towards the lead battle, because it's getting very dicey now with more traffic coming up. Quite close as they're now going past number 40, that is Komorowski. They did get quite a bit closer in the middle there, now as it just slightly stretches out again. So Prodan seems to be a little bit more confident on the back loop of the circuit, and now in the quarry section as well, right on the back of Simoncic. And Simoncic seems to be saving a little bit still of, you know, the limit that he can go. Meanwhile, we see Prodan go closer and closer, and then Kirsten even closer. These guys don't have to worry about dirty air at all, so you can really see these guys flying closer together. Now on the straight, Favero can just stretch their legs a little bit, but Kirsten has the slipstream. There's not too much top-end speed difference between these cars. It's now coming down to turn one, long swinging corner again, so Kirsten is at the control again, once again. Now hard on the brakes for Levinson corner. Nowadays there's just a run straight, basically cutting out this entire, well, pretty much oversized bus stop section that's Levinstown Bridge. But the part here, of course, also still exists in real life, going over the river here and further up Cochranstown. Now we have Jerry Ferry.
He's driving again, yeah. He's from the pits. I mean, he was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, something about that in the pits. Is it a normal time for a pit?
I think that might have been with damage repair. So, and especially this is way earlier than any sort of pit stop window that they would have for fuel. So I think that was probably a bigger damage. So the race winner of round one also slipping up and making a mistake.
Yeah, and he's the last place of the still running 1.5 liter class.
All over the back of the Team Fate Racing Porsche 505. But around 12 horsepower more, so it's a bit of a heavier car. And when it comes to complete top speed, the Porsche is a little bit more streamlined, so it reaches a higher top speed. But here the straights just aren't quite long enough.
This is already P4 now again, so maybe he can catch up. I mean, it's a 40-second gap to Adam Komorowski in P17.
We have it yellow in Sector 1. That quickly cleared up itself again. So maybe someone half spinning, having to slow down or something or other. We actually have... Oh yeah, that is actually Jack Welfs. Oh! And he got stuck at the Levingston corner. Onto the earth wall on the outside, so just overcooking it into the right-hander and then getting stuck. Both wheels not able to get any traction on the ground, unfortunately. And that was Discord just quickly deporting me to another country. Now we have a little bit of a replay, and yeah, it's just slightly too fast.
The spectator's unimpressed by that.
They didn't even flinch, just standing there, you know, looking on.
Oh gosh!
And that's the hairpin sport car. Straight through that entire, like, very, very tight section there, of course, as well.
And I really like that the blue flags are waving there.
Yeah, for the immersion, I think R-Factor 2 is a fantastic simulator, simply because of, you know, you have, as long as the modder or track maker, you know, makes it, you have all these marshals, you know, with either the blue flag still manually waving, or green flag, or, you know, start finish flag and stuff. As we have Kirsten actually heading into the pit lane for his first pit stop.
Yeah, he let them go.
Oh, and actually overshoots the pit box.
Ah, classic.
And he actually changes tires. I didn't expect that, honestly.
Is it a thing, changing tires, you have to opt out? And if you forget it, it's bad for you? Or is it a thing in R Factor that you have full of control of?
You do have full control, so you can either select, you know, the tire compound you want to switch to, or no switch at all.
Let's have a look.
But yeah, and that is something that the drivers were warned about. There's of course no pit limiter, no pit limit, and yeah, he just slightly overshoots it and has to back off another 2 meters. Just really, really unlucky for him. Just didn't quite slow down enough, as we have Throwdown once again all over the back of Simoncic.
So as this is unusual, could it also be a suspension repair?
It could be, but I didn't see any repair damage from him. And judging that he's out again already, so only after 50 seconds, that must have been a very quick refuel, generally, or maybe replacing one or two of the front tires.
Interesting.
Well, it can sometimes be, you know, obviously we have flat spots in this, and you have a couple too many flat spots, you know, or maybe, you know, if it repairs damage as well, you know, it raises the car up on the front as well. Maybe there was a little bit of front suspension damage from that contact we saw very early on. So basically 9 laps ago already, in the hairpin, where he went into the back of Prodan, where he actually decided to, you know, go, okay, I'm losing too much time with this. I'm gonna try and repair this now. Maybe these guys will fight and slow each other down a little bit more, and then I can try and make my way past them. Because now he's in clean air. So just very lovely to see all these different cars from different classes mingling together. Nowadays I think nowadays it's a lot more straightforward. With, you know, LMP1, LMP2, or well, LMH, LMP2, GT, you know, being very, very far apart. And back then these were just, you know, sports car, displacement, and I think one of the few regulations was basically that these cars had to be made in a way that they could make at least a minimum stint limit of 300 or 400 kilometers at Le Mans. So basically completing 30 laps. And they could run longer, and ooh, that is a hit. I think, no, not quite a hit on the outside, just a little bit more on the yeet from Chris Gordon. Keeps it running though, and luckily the equity synergy, Morgenstern, is seemingly unbefuddled. And actually, you know, it continues the top running Morgenstern. Chris was saying before the race, you know, I don't know how Max Schrappe is that fast in this car. but there's definitely, something that I'm not finding here. But, of course, you have to have this reliability as well, not just from, yourself staying in your own limits, but also having this, this sort of luck almost, that you don't have a connection breakdown, that you don't have a hardware failure or something, They back then, they had failing oil pumps and all that stuff, or leaking radiator, and we have this here in comparison.
It's a good way to see that before getting frustrated back at home if you're also doing sim racing. Like it's it's mechanical failure and that's it. And yeah, what you can't simulate, but it's the same thing. Of course, if you have a bad provider, that's not good for you. Or if you have German internet in general, but in the end, it's the same thing. If the mechanical parts of your racing system, whatever it is, real or sim, doesn't work, it is what it is.
It's just tragic, But unfortunately for our nation, the internet is still new land. Oh, that's whoa, and that's a blind spot.
Oh no!
But that was
no, not now.
That was not. I was first gonna praise him for moving off the racing line there, but that was yes. Unfortunate. And our leader's barely making it through.
Would have been a good pit stop for Kirsten.
Yeah, Kirsten's definitely got to be having that pit stop pay dividends now, and Simončić once again getting right up close to the edge of the circuit there, just barely not going onto the grass. And you really don't want to hit onto the grass there, because there is this tiny side road that's a huge bump, and basically, he actually does lock up.
He died. That's it.
And where is he? He's continuing in the sheep paddock. Comes back
there he
narrow
is.
Path. Comes back through a narrow part of the hedge and manages to join back, I think, pretty much without damage. But of course, the damage here has been done. He's now lost. Well, that is pretty much 10 seconds, but I think that's still better than a big damage repair or a DNF.
Yeah, we leaned back here, but then one thing after another. First the spinner, now off. Let's check it out. Oh, yellow flags there.
You see, yeah.
At least that.
That was just, I think that from Chris, that was just really bad timing. Obviously, it's a completely blind section, so, he's basically just hoping, okay, hopefully there won't be people here, and that's, that is 16th, sorry.
Danny Foreman.
That is, the bad luck catches back up to them again. Chris Gordon DNFs in the 3-liter class. And Foreman keeps going on 3 wheels on his wagon in 3rd place in class. But he is slowly and carefully making it back, not driving too fast. Letting other drivers go past him. This is, of course, something that could potentially be repaired. And he's staying on the right side as much as he can, as I think, that was Jerry Ferry, the round 1 1500 class winner. Yep. Keeping it safe there.
No. Ah! Oh, the wall! It was the wall.
No. So really got caught up by insanely bad luck. They're actually also getting stuck, so the bodywork
it getting worse. No!
Oh no! And that's Salminen as well, so that was 3rd place overall. Salminen seems to have, escaped major damage there, luckily, but my goodness me, at this point with the attrition rate, I think Oskari Kantonen could be looking for an overall podium here.
Yeah, could be. 63 seconds behind P3. and leading massively in his S2000 class.
Now with this, so if this is the DNF for Chris Gordon, that's 20 cars now left in the field. Oh, and we have
half a
we
second.
have a quite fun fight here. So that's for overall position, for overall top 10. That's Mifanri Floor in the number 2, Brick Zark, Cummings R54C against the Briswell 405 of Neil Tsenkovsky. So 2 liters versus 5.4 liters. 300 horsepower versus 155. So quite literally twice the power, as we can see. The Cummings just flying away there on the straight. But now the, well, Neil Tsenkovsky very, very comfortably and, slowly catching back up in the braking zone, of course. I think that is second or third lightest. No, actually, sorry, the fourth lightest car behind the 1.5 liters. There, and yeah, Furman's still trying to make the way back, but of course, with the front right wheel, the left-hand turns are a little bit more difficult.
Is it just a hairpin and then he's nearly there? Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just has to make the way through the hairpin and... Ooh, that's... Either that's Bourget... Well, that's very slow either way. But I think that is just him, letting them through. That might be right after a pit stop as well, because he's now behind Darren Andrews. Andrews was in third place quite a distance back for a while. Actually, there was a crash for Bourget apparently, and we're about to see what actually happened there. So Gorlini not having a lucky streak in this race. Neither is Ekip Kriskele. Overall, like, even if there was a crash, I don't think it slowed him down too much. So we're still rewinding, and yeah, we should be good to go for the replay. And through the edge.
No clip.
And just, basically getting turned around by strafing the, well, that paddock gate, basically, with the front headlight. And, ooh, yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. Very, very careful, of course, with that. And that was actually Andrews, the current class leader, flying past in that scene.
Oh, there's more.
That's my goodness me, that was fantastic reactions from Jason Field there, and very, very bad timing. Yeah, very, very bad timing from Bourget. Of course, you're thinking, I have to somehow rejoin the track. I want to obviously not endanger people, but
oh, the overall leader having some troubles there. 5 seconds of a gap, so I wouldn't think he's so.
Yeah, the damage is definitely got worse now.
That is the wheel, that is the damage. And maybe it gets more and more over time. Is that a possibility?
It could certainly be. So, for example, if the toe is offset, you have the wheel a little bit facing even less straight. So it could heat itself up a little bit more, and especially, of course, with this, suspension damage, he's sliding a lot more on the rear. That gradually heats up the tires as well, so not just heating them up, which means less grip. And oh my god, again with a big slide.
It's
But
more
also-
rally driving here.
Yeah, at this point it is turning into a rally stage, basically. It's basically just two steering detents into the corner, and the rest is just counter-steering for him at the moment.
Yeah, the gap to P2 again up to 6 seconds. And incredible it is that way with the problems the leader has. But I'm confident Mr. Prodam can keep it on track. Commentators curse.
Yeah, I mean, Donato, of course, also a very experienced racer in R-Factor 2, and actually, Yanni did catch quite a bit through that section of traffic there. But now, of course, he's also getting held up a little bit, and we have so much traffic ahead, actually. So much traffic. So now, Simičić now unleashing the 330 horsepower again, flying past the Golini in the 3-liter class. And lost another second, but there's another 2 cars ahead of Prodam. Which I think those should be... Yeah, those are Sendkovsky and Flor. So 9th, so we're already getting to the point where the leaders are lapping the edge of the top 10 after a third of the race distance.
And Sendkovsky very, very close to the car in front still. To Fleur.
Obviously also not in a position for class, so both of them, they could change positions and still get the same points, but it's for the overall position here that's counting. And in front of both of them now another car on the horizon.
And there's the leader right behind them.
Yep. All over the back of them, and Sendkovsky now moving out of the way. Oh, and yeah, he just can't quite put the foot down. Tries to make his way past the humongous Cummings.
Oh, the hairpin coming up.
That was late on the brakes. Late and hard on the brakes, right behind the Bofield Engineering Mazzantini.
As you said, it looks slow, but if you make a mistake there, you crash out 2 or 3 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually managing to just squeeze past that. So with all the traffic, there's a good chance here that, people might be only familiar with the way F1 does blue flags. So, you have a blue flag, the car getting lapped, has to, ease off the throttle and completely let them through. However, we're here in multi-class racing, so we have a quite big difference to that. Namely, that the car lapping has to make the pass safely, so it's their responsibility to get the safer pass started. At the same time, once there's overlap in the corner, so for example, let's say, with an example that we'll have in just a moment, when Mr. Simičić gets alongside Jason Field in the Bofield car up ahead, or Sendkovsky here, if this was in a corner, as soon as the car of Simičić is alongside, then Sendkovsky isn't allowed to fight back against it. So the lapped car has to stay mainly predictable and on their racing line, but immediately after that, we will have the twist situation that they also have to make it possible for the lapping car to safely lap the car ahead. To safely let the car lap them. It's a lot more complex. It's a lot more it's a lot more cooperation. But at the same time, it's also that people have to take a lot more care what they actually do when they're lapping, when they're being lapped, and in my opinion, a lot nicer than just the... Honestly, what are we doing here? Blue flags, blue flags.
But what comes, what goes around comes around. If you're not nice to the others, maybe there will be a problem for you later in the race. So it will pay off if they are driving fairly with each other. And as you said, it's a very, very good community here for this kind of racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's Schrappe, P20.
Yeah, slowly making his way back up after that disconnect at the start. I mean, obviously, all the cars behind him are DNF'd, but still, he's surviving.
You have to finish first.
He's a survivor. He'll fight harder. He's not going to stop.
Yeah, and it's 3 laps from his disconnect, so basically he's in his pace. He can, I think he invested much time in training for this race, so why just throw it away? And better have some fun here at the track.
I think the damage is now finally catching up with Rodan. He's probably trying to nurse the car a little bit, because now we see that Simoncic has gained back 6 of the seconds that he lost.
And also for Kirsten, he was 36 seconds away, is now 25 seconds away. So it's nearly 11 seconds he did pick
Absolutely.
up.
With his brandmate, actually, with Lari Salminen. With the team name that is so incredibly long that I had to shorten it.
And also Kirsten fastest lap 4:19.893, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the peak pace here, it's very clear that the Tabor Lagarde is pretty much the fastest car. However, at the same time, basically having the consistency to put those laps in is a completely different thing, as we have this very nice split screen here of the cars right behind each other on the track now, within visual range.
Yeah, it seems he has a lot more to do on the wheel than his competitor. Another DNF.
We have another one. Yep. Oh, and that is the championship leader in the 1500 class. And that is a big one. That is the engine dead. That's a wheel missing. That is... Oh.
So race over for him, which means the others can take their points, and it will be a quite more interesting championship.
Oh. And yeah, that is coming over the bridge at Quarterlands. Cuts the apex a little bit, goes through the hedge and rips his wheel off on one of the trees there. My goodness.
Was it the same spot he did crash the first time?
It might have been, honestly speaking, but...
Yeah, where he was like
again,
jumping up and down, but yeah.
It's a rough one to call, because we have overall 4 corners like this. So Cochranstown, Quarterlands, Budora, and then Wheeler's Corner. All 3 of them being quite similar to each other and right behind each other on the track. So they all look quite similar as well.
Yeah, Kirsten gets faster and faster now, and that could be an opportunity to take the lead when the cars in P1 and 2 will pit.
Yeah, and absolutely worth for him to do that early pit stop. With all the chaos that the others have hit now, it's definitely paying off. It's paying dividends, and as it's always been, being a betting game with the pit stops, whether you come out, Kirsten coming out in clean air, and basically everyone else in front of him either pitting or spinning or crashing so far. basically just making the most of it, you know. He's not breaking the eggs are cracking under themselves, and he's definitely making the omelette.
And I think Salmin was in the pit and did a pit stop for 1 minute and 15 seconds. So that's a huge difference with what we have seen before.
Yeah, we have to remember he was the one that hit the back of the Amici Autosport car earlier. Speaking of which, you know, after they tragically lost the wheel, Amici Autosport back on track, still in front of Max Schrappe. And I actually would like to know how far in front they are of Max Schrappe, but we have to wait until our timing tower swings back around again for that.
Who do you mean, Danny Foreman?
Yeah, Danny Foreman and
10
Max
seconds. 10 seconds.
Oh, so that is getting very spicy as well slowly then. So everyone up until the top 7 has now been lapped. Liam Dolan, the only 3-liter car that isn't, well, that is on the lead lap. Cantonen and Matt Wright, of course, in the 2 liters also on the lead lap. They're split now by Larry Salminen in overall positions and on track. And Matt, it's been a very quiet race for Matt Wright. Definitely avoided the entire carnage at the start, but not quite able to go Cantonen's pace. And I think he's basically just, you know, taking it as it is right now. Very, very careful. Yeah, I think the survival here for him is a lot more valuable than, you know, actually winning the class in this situation. Because Matt Wright, he basically had the perfect round 1. Class win, consistency points, and Salminen, who's leading right now, he didn't finish the race actually, so yeah, 9 points separating them in the standings so far. That is a gap that Cantonen has to actually overcome first.
And also with P2, then with the podium here, if he can make it, I mean, we are nearly at halftime. Yeah, would be good enough, I would say. I mean, to the leader, it's a far way. To the P3, it's a far way. So just keep it consistent. Maybe take the consistency point and maximize the outcome.
And I think we're about to have the next round of lead battle with Sivancic now on the tail of Prodan, as we have Shepard heading to the pits, and that is another car. That is, I think... Oh, that is Furman again already. So I think this time might be a scheduled pit stop, though. I think maybe for the last pit stop they didn't refuel, they didn't change tires, or maybe just the tires that were involved in the collision.
I checked the timing board if Foreman gets another pit stop. But the fight for the lead is on again. They're back to back.
Meanwhile, well, we also still have, you know, a rather big gap to contemplate about. 50 seconds. This was at, I think, 1 minute and 20 seconds before, so 80. So Kirsten has regained 30 seconds already. That is a lot of understeer for Prodan. Sivancic taking a tighter line now, and now with a working suspension, just driving past, and I think Prodan actually lifted off there. Just waiting for a moment and not really fighting back too much. Oh, and we have the next DNF, that is Gerard Rion, the Belgian Turtle Golini driver. What's happened there? Was that a crash? Was that maybe a DNF? Prodan is also still hanging on to the back of Simoncic, so maybe Simoncic is all well. Maybe Prodan is also just saying, "Hey, I'm far more comfortable at following instead of leading here." And oh, that is unlucky. So I just got a report from one of the stewards that is close to the. Well, that is close to the start-finish line. Basically, saw Rion going past the start-finish line, shift back up to the next gear, and seemingly misshifting. Massively over-revving the engine, and the engine just basically exploded on him. Gearbox seemingly tore itself to shreds as well from the lighter grey smoke that we saw. And then, well, basically carefully coming to a stop at the side of the road. So that's unfortunately a mechanically induced DNF that we have for Gerard Rion here. Really, really disappointing for the second place in the 3-liter class. And speaking of 3-liter, now Liam Dolan is in the pit lane, our leader in the 3-liter class, completely without pressure, and now able to just pretty much drive it home.
And to add to that, Max Schrappe could then take P2 in the F3000.
That is true.
So it pays off to be back in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is quite literally then it would be a DNF and still a podium. So, really, really worth it to finish this.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And it's both the engine and, yeah, there's the gearbox locking up completely. Sending the car
Costly.
around, blocking the rear axle, just,
Very costly.
Amédée Golini is not going to be happy about that. And I think Seb quickly got deported to another country like I was earlier from Discord. Oh no, it was Daniel! I hope that the broadcast can still hear us.
Maybe.
Maybe. The broadcasting account is still here. So let's hope for the best.
So the rest is running, so we are running lap 19 of 42. And to add Matty Shepard, it was the second pit stop, so he has now a 2 in the pit column in the timing board. So that was correct.
Absolutely, and we're also seeing the gap drop down again, so I think the gap is now down to 47 seconds for Kirsten. So while these guys are fighting and under pressure with each other,
I think the pit stop was about 50 seconds, right?
it should have been 50, maybe 60 seconds.
Yeah, so
it repair a little bit and just basically calculated, hey, if I pit early, I can make the rest of the race without a pit stop. Basically didn't want to gamble, repaired the damage while he was at it, and now just at full strength for the rest of the race.
Yes. So in the end, it's a good thing. Have the clean air, not do a whole bunch of traffic at the same spot as the Prodan and Simon Ditch had it, and yeah, they are back close together again. And yeah, also with the damage on the car, it will be a tight race till the line.
Yeah, I'd agree there as well.
And the timing crashed, so also a DNF for the timing board.
I think it's going well again now. Yeah, it should be fine. At least on my side.
Okay, got the info. Would all be good for us and for everyone on track. And everyone watching, of course. Greetings to your device at home. But it's interesting how he can stick to him. So he played it good, left him by. Now, yeah, hanging behind him. But there's still trouble in some of the corners. But still, maybe he really feels more comfy to be behind the leader, just following him.
And even with that, we had these short few moments where Prodan actually shot in front and was actually able to, slightly gap a little bit, but then, started getting caught again. And if I saw that correctly, actually, we might get a quick little interview guest here. One of, the first man to DNF in this race, but an incredibly experienced historic racer, hopefully. Just waiting for him to pop into the channel so I can drag him in. Goodness.
I'm confused because some cars have now outlap in the first sector, but also the leaders, but I don't think that's true.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing sometimes when we have software failures.
Ah, okay, yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah, I thought they were pitted and we missed that.
Speaking of pitting, Darren Andrews, leader of the 1.5 liter class, Intercontinental Racing Sports Club OSA T44, comes in and also overshoots. You have to be careful
and
here.
undershoots. Yeah.
You have to be really, really careful here, because if you reverse too far, you will get disqualified instantly by the stewards. They don't like to see that.
So no trickery with that. Oof, that was close for Prodan. He did see more of that tree than he wanted.
Getting completely, getting in for a wood analysis, seeing if it's oak or birch. But yeah, you can see how much these guys are still pushing, and you can still see a little bit of apprehension. You can see these guys keeping the tighter lines to not get completely to the exit when they can, but then also, in other places, where they are more confident, they will push more. And I think this is just, this claustrophobic feeling almost of Dundrod, where you are going so fast, so incredibly fast through these corner sections, over these crests, through these blind corners, through these sweepers. That's, you want to push, you want to go fast, but at the same time, you just cannot bring yourself to do it because you just want to make sure that you actually survive.
Yeah, and maybe it's also, again, a case of if you're not scared, you're not fast. So you can see like Simonic is working on the wheel and has to catch sometimes the rear, like here also again with a little drift. So it's difficult, but they are fast and pushing, and they will push to the end because maybe they know that Kirsten is coming.
And that gap is slowly but steadily shrinking, and these guys will still have to pit. I'm wondering if maybe Yanni is also trying to fuse it a little bit, because that is one of the big strengths that he has.
Yeah. And if anything happens to Simonic, Prodan, or Kirsten, there is this man, Oskari Kantonen, maybe taking overall podium, still leading his class, of course, by a huge amount. So, yeah, if anything happens in front, he's there to pick up an overall podium.
Yeah, I think Favero is going to be very, very happy with the result today if it finishes like this. Of course, we are far from being done. So we have Simonic going through the quarry section to just start the 21st lap. So halfway point has been reached. Almost. And there we are. Now we have him in our ready room. And here comes our, well, a man who's been very unlucky in this series so far, but nevertheless an incredibly experienced historic racer. And an incredibly fast one at that, when all four wheels are on the wagon. Jackson Robillard, how are you doing?
Howdy. Good to be here. I've been better, but I'm here to support the team now. So having a good time watching, I guess.
Always good to hear. And I mean, at least the consolation is there that, you know, two class leads right now. So basically pulling what the Squadra di Garagisti guys were pulling at Longford.
Yeah, they're going pretty well. I'm not sure they need my support, to be honest, but they're going pretty well. Unfortunately, 3-liter kind of fell apart early in the race, but 2-liter's been interesting, and we're just trying to hold a gap to Matt right now. It's going just fine.
Yeah, great to hear, as usual. And tell us about it. So, what would you say is the biggest challenge around the circuit?
The biggest thing here is just keeping the car on the road, which I know sounds a bit silly, but most places, even Longford, as unforgiving as that place can be, if you drop 2 tires in the dirt, it's usually okay. Here, even the smallest mistake is a disaster pretty much every time because the berms are so close and there are obstacles everywhere. So the track being as narrow as it is and there being as little room for errors there is really means you just can't make any small errors, or you have to drive very conservatively. And the people who are able to do that are always very, very successful here. Consistency is the king. And
what do you say here now for right now our overall lead battle? Not quite Niklas Kirsten as we're seeing right now, who's been slowly catching back up after an early pit stop, but Donald Prodan, who's been pretty much driving with broken suspension for pretty much his entire race now.
Yeah, the race at the front with Jerne and Donat has been absolutely crazy. It's a pleasure to watch. They're both very consistent and very talented drivers, and Donat is able to wheel that car with what looks like quite a lot of damage from here. That's been great to watch. Very impressive.
Also, Niklas Kirsten having another near miss there as he's pushing quite on the limit. Now bringing down the gap to within 46 seconds. Well, as we are having you here, you know, I like to ask the drivers a little bit more than just that, but just a very quick rundown. What was your take? Like, what happened at the start? We only saw it from the outside.
I only really have my own perspective, but it seemed like there was a car right in front of me who stopped in the middle of the road. I think there was a false start involved, and unfortunately that meant I had nowhere to go, and a number of people behind me had nowhere to go. And this track being as narrow as it is, that means if you're stuck on the outside there's really just nothing you can do. So quite a lot of the field got collected in that, which was unfortunate. It is what it is. It's part of the game here, but that was definitely bigger than it had to be. Fortunately, it seems like most people were able to keep going. A few of us didn't make it that far, but it seems like things have shaken out okay since then. It's a bit of a shame to see. I know 3-liters not fared too well on the whole. Fortunately, I know Liam is out there still, but it's a bit of a shame, but it's part of the game.
And do you think the Le Mans start will also... Do you think it will cause a problem potentially at Le Grand, or do you think it'll be a little bit more tame there since it's wider?
Well, that track's a lot wider, so I think it's better, but it's still definitely a troublesome way to start a race. It causes a lot of hazards. There's a reason we don't do that in the real world anymore. Well, there are a few reasons. Some of them not so relevant here, but
sprinting across the road.
Yeah, fortunately we don't have to do that part. But it's a hazardous way to start a race, and unfortunately that's just part of it. It's part of the game, part of the sport, where we sign up knowing that this might happen. So it is what it is.
So my next question, in comparison, and there's a huge off right next to Prodan actually. I hope we can get a replay on that in a moment. That was, I think, Komorowski pretty much flipping over Prodan's car.
Oh, and he's burning!
And, that is
bursting in flames.
That must have been the fuel tank that just ruptured. And I'm hoping we don't see the driver behind the street sign. We're hoping that the driver jumped clear before that happens. But huge off there. And I was about to ask, what is the track you're most looking forward to in this season?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I just take each race as it comes. I'm happy to drive wherever. Yeah, I enjoy the racing more than anything, and we can race anywhere really. Le Grand is going to be cool. I'm looking forward to that a lot. That's a very fun track in these cars. It's long with with the smaller displacement cars, but it's still fun. It races really well, and it should be a good time.
Well, it's a good answer, but still incorrect. Like, the correct answer would have been Monaco, you know?
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. That'll be crazy, just like this. I suspect the attrition there will be pretty high, but I guess we'll see when it comes, right?
Yeah, and to be noted there as well, it's still very possible to actually fall into the harbor at Monaco. So
yeah, if your car burns,
this one, isn't it?
If the car burns, you can just extinguish it there.
Yes.
Big brain thinking.
It's esports tactics.
Esports tactics back in the
cooling down the wheels in the car.
Almost like the Metro Goldwyn my Grand Prix movie in the first race.
You can recreate the movie scene.
And right now we're having a look quickly at Juri Smith in 10th place overall behind... Oh, that is the Beaufield Engineering car of Jason Fields, who's following Erwan Bergier, the current class leader, for 1.5 litre. And that is a very tight spot to attempt to move, and he thinks better of it. Which brings me to my next question, since, we still have a driver here that isn't me, and, I couldn't really do as much practice anyway. What do you say? What would you say, Jackson, would be the prime overtaking spots around this circuit?
Oh boy, I'm not sure there are any, to be honest. Anywhere you try and pass here is pretty sketchy. Largely, I find, because of the crown in the road. Anywhere you either are on the outside of the corner or you put somebody on the outside of the corner, there's a significant hazard now because the grip is so much lower. So you often see somebody go off the track there, hit a berm, and cause a big problem. So honestly, anywhere I have to pass here makes me very uncomfortable. It's not an enjoyable part of this track.
Yeah, well, you heard it here first, folks. Even the experienced ones are quivering before, Northern Ireland. And understandably so, quite honestly, I really can't blame you there, man. But yeah, either way, any shout-outs you want to do?
Just you guys for putting this together. It's always fun, no matter how many issues our Factor 2 gives us. It's a good group. A otherwise, happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to hear it. Always happy to have you as well. And thank you very much for your time, Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Righto. So always really nice to have drivers in, even from different classes as well sometimes, who can give some insight into what's happening in the race while we are looking from the outside. And we also have another replay coming in. There we are. That is the Komorowski incident that I saw just now. So slight lockup on the brake, very slight lockup on the brake, and the roll was no. It was just a slight rear lockup, and unfortunately the replay didn't quite capture the rollover there as well. But quite literally, it flipped over the car of Podium there, and really close. As Janis Simoncic now comes out of the pit lane, 32 seconds behind Niklas Kirsten. Kirsten now only 40 seconds behind Podium.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Now the car is full again for Simonic. The Kirsten's car shouldn't be with too much fuel, if I'm right. Or can he finish the race? Here again.
Yeah, that's... Whoa. Actually, he did get hit in the top of the... So the little hump on the back of the Favero there, that is for the increased fuel tank capacity. Basically got hit on top of the fuel tank by the car. Goodness me, that was really lucky for Donald Prodam.
Oh no.
Huge one.
No. Ah, what a crash.
And all three cars. Was that all three cars flipping?
Yeah. Two cars are flipping at least. One is still flipping. And a big yellow flag. There's carnage all over the track, and I don't know where the next cars are coming from. But this doesn't look good because we have now cars at two positions. One inside, one outside.
And oh goodness, that is...
there's...
That was the leader of the 1.5 liter class. So Triskele now with a double DNF today. Definitely not what they were hoping for. And that means the lead falls down to Darren Andrews in the OSA. That's huge damage for Juri Smith. Oh, a really big one there. Horrifying crash there, and both of the cars, just instantly starting to roll over, hitting the earth wall there at a really odd angle, and immediately just toppling over.
So Irvin Bourget is now listed as DNF, but nobody else.
Yeah, somehow Smith survived. Probably found his way back on a part where the track is lower to the ground again.
Yeah, Smith's still in P9. Yeah.
But that will need a repair. That will need a substantial repair by the pit crew. Meanwhile, actually, nice quick pickup here. There's Robin DeVos in the Cummings, in the number 2 that was earlier driven by Mefano Fleur. And as far as I know, DeVos, our community's only controller racer.
What?
Yes, you heard that right. On a controller.
Is this allowed?
It is allowed, and my question always usually is more not even like is it allowed or something, or why are they doing it, just how, because the speeds they're doing with the controller is absolutely mind-boggling. Earlier this year I did the 1974 Indy 500 with the International Sim Organization, so ISO on Automobilista 1. So something to wait, especially for the qualifying run, the 4 laps that you run. You have to be incredibly precise, and DeVos was barely slower than me on full push in those 4 laps. Qualifying, I think, in 10th or 11th, as we head into a replay quickly. And yeah, that's so unlucky. Yeah, that's flipped immediately over the hedge, and yeah, Jason Field trying to avoid, obviously can't really do anything there. Hits the hay bale, but no, like yeah. So Bourgier flipping quite a few times. Jason Field. Oh, that's Ted Ho. That's yeah. Right. He jumped in to support Jason Field.
And
he didn't
got much out of that.
Yeah, he didn't flip out of it. Like, but honestly, also just really the wrong place at the wrong time. Just incredibly unfortunate for him.
It is also means that Sankovsky is now in P3 of his class. Overall P8. Yeah. So it mixed a little bit up the order.
Absolutely. This also means that we only have 2 1500cc class cars running, which will be Andrews and Carmen.
Let's have another look.
And yeah, just trying to shoot for the gap there, but
yeah, and he got lucky there with some, I don't know, no clip thing on the track barrier.
No, that is heavy damage.
Aha.
So didn't quite get lucky, but at least it wasn't a flip or DNF. Ted Ho is on the wheel, but if I recall correctly, Ted Ho is also doing cigar reviews while he's racing in true 1950s fashion. But I think with the inputs there, we can see just how damaged the steering is. Because we also have Jerry Smith now heading into the pit lane and yeah, going for the repair. Quite a big spread now across the fields.
Yeah,
I think the closest people for position in class is that we have right now Scary Kantonen and Matt Wright. 13 seconds apart, basically. Meanwhile, Niklas Kirsten is still catching up to Donald Prodan, now having decreased his fastest lap time to a 4:19.012. Absolutely mind-boggling speed that he's doing.
And it's coming closer and closer, so will be a task for Prodan. Also, like, he has to overcorrect there again.
God, like I still can't fathom how he's been running with the car this damage this entire time, you know? Really good car control from him, but I wouldn't be comfortable running in a broken car for that long.
Not at all, and new best lap time for Kirsten. Now going into the 4:18s.
4:18.776, so Kirsten an absolute mission. I'm wondering if Prodan is maybe somehow trying to, well, save fuel enough so he only has to do a splash and dash at the end. But either way, that's even with the fighting, you know, like that is still superb pace. He's obviously running himself. Let me check his last lap times here that I can find. Last lap, actually last lap quite long, 4:35, so I think he might have had some service done there already. Or just a really big lockup or something. But like the last rounds, his fastest lap actually done on lap 20. So with this damaged car, 420.278, incredible speed from him. And then otherwise 421.6, 423.4, 421.4, then 435.008. I am curious what his strategy is here.
That's the most interesting thing when it comes down to that. I mean, it's something we don't know exactly what will happen, so it will be exciting.
Absolutely, and it's this play of strategy as well. And I can actually confirm Proton just must have made a mistake in the last lap, so no pit stop for him, just a 435, which probably is the reason how Kirsten was able to gain so much time on him. Jerry Smith is back out of the pit lane after his huge accident. Ted Ho is still repairing the car. And normally, Ted Ho is also the teammate for Maddie Shepherd in the Vulcan Racing Mazzantini. So basically, he just changed from Mazzantini to Mazzantini for a race as a co-driver. And yeah, basically just having a blast helping out Jason Fields.
Yeah, some do drive as a team, but I'm not sure if there are any driver switches up to now.
There were a few. So we had Valtteri Manninen, who started the race, as opposed to I think that was hold on, let me have a look who it was the car in qualifying. Olli Kaya. Finnish names, I swear to God, I'm just not great with them. Olli Kajanlahti, sorry. He qualified the car, and then his teammate Valtteri Manninen started it, and unfortunately he got caught in that, lap one huge pile up. We have now lost 12, I think, actually.
Yes.
13 12 cars. And speaking of the Finnish language, I did mention Lari Salminen in the only team name that I have shortened quite a bit to Kauri. The full name is Kaljakurun Autourheilijat, which I'm guessing is Kaljakurun Automobile Club, and Ri is the registered club short form, I think, in Finland. So
okay, I was afraid there was a German word for a woman of the night in that.
Not quite, but
and another 4 seconds down for Kirsten on Prodan. That's significant.
Just insane. Kirsten's doing 4:19.4 while catching 3 seconds a lap right now. That's absolutely mind-boggling. The Tabor Lagarde really working well on this circuit. Not the fastest in a straight. It basically tops out at around 262 kilometers, while the Favaro, the works car, is topping out at 268. But nevertheless, an incredibly impressive display here.
Is there a minimum laps you have to complete to be, to get your results counted?
Yeah, it would be 90%, so it would here be 4.2 laps. So, and because we're doing it in favor of the drivers, it would be 5 laps. So you have to complete 90% of the distance that your class leader completed. So, for example, we have Darren Andrews as the class leader in the 1.5 liter class. He's right now, let's say he's going to get lapped another time. So he's going to be finishing 2 laps down. He'll complete 40 laps. That means that to get points, Steve Carman will have to finish within 4 laps distance of Darren Andrews.
Yeah, okay. So maybe there is a point where people can relax a little bit when they're sure, okay, nobody is behind me anymore. Like if you look at Steve Carman, he's P2 in the 1.5 liter class, but there's, everyone else is out. So, just bring it home.
Yeah, even then, like, obviously it's like, oh yeah, he's to be 4 laps behind. He has to be at least at the maximum 4 laps behind to be able to score points. So, oh, he's 2 laps behind already. I would worry, but then you have to say, it's 2 laps so far. It's 26 out of 42 laps. So I'd say he's safe as long as he just keeps it on the road.
Right. Oh, more pit stops are in. Sankowski for over a minute now. And Smith, of course.
Smith for another one, actually, after that damage repair. Matt Wright was coming in as well. And Max Schrappe. Ooh, that was a very close call. Because that was Schrappe pulling out of the pit lane. And Matt Wright having to readjust his pit stop position. Very nearly leading to a collision, and that would have been quite gnarly. Luckily, both of them reacting really, really well.
And also with Schrappe now in P2 of his class, with all the problems with the internet connection, that would have been a bummer.
Absolutely.
So where are we now? In P10 with Darren Andrews. And is this a battle for position? No. Yeah, battle for position, but not class. But yeah, we take what we get. I mean, now with 16 cars still driving and the field is pretty split. The most exciting thing, of course, is Kirsten hunting down Prodan, and what will happen with the pit stops in the end and the strategy.
And I think that is the point right now. It's if you have damage, is it worth carrying on? Is it worth repairing? Is it worth just doing the full service pit stop at that point if you're already at at the pit stop window where you want to pit in? And did I thought I wasn't seeing straight, but the Nicholas Kirsten's best lap has just been toppled by the man chasing him. Well, like a madman as usual, Yanis Simičić with a 4:17.491.
You want to say you
3 seconds almost faster.
Yeah, that's impressive. Now going into 4:17, and I think you wanted to say your pig whistles. To be in a German slang again. Incredible. Yeah, so Simoncic again in the battle for the overall race win, of course. Because we will see what will happen with the pit stops.
Also, I must correct myself for a statement I said earlier. Very competent league admin here that wrote the regulations so well that I can't remember them correctly myself. You only have to complete 90% of the race for the consistency point. As long as you finish, you get the normal point score table point.
Okay. So the DNF, of course, for Erwan Bourgeois is still a DNF, even if he is P3 in the in the class. Yeah, okay. But makes sense. If you do not finish, you're not finishing. Again. It's obvious. think the gap between Prodan and Kirsten did stabilize around 15 seconds, plus minus.
Yeah. It's rough right now because I think Kirsten obviously was pushing very, very hard. He still is, actually. But also hitting traffic right now, so... Prodan right now is keeping a very, very consistent run. And I think he's mainly trying to focus right now. Maybe he's basically submitted to, you know, this isn't my fight. My fight is, you know, with Simoncic, who's far enough back. So I'll just try to keep it on the road. And he's keeping a very consistent 4:22 average lap time right now.
If I look at the max KMH, is that a thing of draft in traffic? Because like Larry Salminen just has a 252. Yeah, the others 256, 57 in front Prodan.
It can be a thing with traffic, especially with Prodan, Kirsten, and Simoncic. Those three, you know, ran in slipstream early on in the race, so that will have given them a little bit of more slipstream. But it can also be, you know, just from generally the exit that you get out of the last corner.
Ah, okay. And also we have a driver change in P11.
Ah, yeah, indeed. Yoshi Lin, who just joined for this round to the Wilk Sport entry to support Nils Zankowski.
Yeah, I know him from iRacing, from the from the Skippy. The last surviving people driving that.
I played iRacing like years back, and Skipaba was like my favorite thing to race back then.
Yeah, it's where I have my my feet under the table, like doing a league every Monday. So yeah, I know these people, and yeah, it's also like here maybe like it's a passion project, and it's people who love that car, and yeah, still keeping it alive.
Absolutely. I mean, here as well, like, I can say that because I'm actually one of the guys working on the physics for these cars on the overhaul. So before the series started, I completely overhauled all the brakes to, you know, follow more accurate heat up and, you know, performance logic from the drum brakes and the disc brakes. And, you know, engine cooling and drag and all that stuff, you know, I basically adjusted all of that myself. So basically, I pulled 2 weeks of all-nighters to make that in time, because we had a small issue with the guy who originally made some of the physics, and you know, he was how would you say it? Verhindert. He was unavailable to make.
Yeah.
He was unable to make the changes in time, so I basically speed ran learning physics changes for these cars, and doing all the data gathering. And basically now I'm doing all the data gathering, you know, rummaging through books, websites, everything, anything I can find for these cars. And you know, with some cars, like for example with the Gordini, which the Gorlinis are based on, it is infuriating because Amedeo Gordini basically didn't document anything about his cars. Like, he switched around chassis and suspensions and engines and everything. And I'm very, very fortunate that, well, our still current championship leader in the 3-liter class, Martin Bayer, is owner of a very comprehensive book on the Gordini race cars. So I have him basically as my oracle for the French race cars. Then, luckily, because my mother is active in the Jaguar Enthusiast Club, and we have a direct link to the Jaguar Heritage Center, we can get some data on the C and D type, and it's just a fantastic, you know, it's just a fantastic hobby to get into. And you know, racing is always something special. But historic racing, it's, you know, this extra little bit of spice in my head.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And also, if you have these connections, that's super interesting. And yeah, And you put the effort in that to make it happen, to overhaul the physics. I mean, that's not what everyone would do, and problems for Dolan.
Just a small little touch on the grass.
And what I am still wondering, is that Max Schrappe still in the pit for 10 minutes, or is that an error?
I think that is a display error, because right now he's out on the track.
Good for him.
Oh. As I was saying, that he did touch the wall though, but luckily I don't think that was damage. Actually, no, he is coming to the pit lane now.
Huh. Now it turns blue. Okay, and
So
also
at this
in
point,
the live timing.
it's not a commentator's curse at this point, it's a UI curse. The UI cursed him to come into the pit lane.
But also, like for Dolan, as we have seen, catching the grass there, he's the leader in his class. So, still a sign to be careful, to be consistent, and not trying something new. Oh, it was also Proden hitting some grass on the inside.
Yep.
Yeah, that's for me. If I'm leading a race or something like that, or be in a comfortable position, let's say it that way, that sometimes I think, okay, maybe I can go that turn a little bit faster, and then, yeah, the errors come in the last couple of laps, where you try something new.
We actually had Van Erven disconnect from the race and rejoin. So that's quite interesting as well. And he just had a spin and is pretty much the next car in traffic to be lapped by Prodan, who's now being chased down by, here he is, our man of absolute speed around this circuit, Niklas Kirsten.
Yeah, 7 seconds. So there will be a battle, that's for sure. And Sandkovsky is back in the car. What is going on here?
I'm thinking there might... So, Niels just asked in the driver's chat whether you had to map the force feedback reset button beforehand. So, I'm thinking there might have been some technical difficulties between the two. Maybe with unassigned controls and stuff, but
yeah, Lynn is back in the car.
Lynn is in, so I think there might be just also some tomfoolery with our layover. Well, overlay, sorry. Layover, yeah, no, we're not going from one airport to another, Jesus. Switch the two words around, they're a completely different word now. Welcome to the English language. At least it's not the German language where we have absolute death stabber words like Fußboden Schleifmaschinenverleih.
Yes. For some people that sounds like a proclamation of war, so let's not do that again.
I mean, it gets even worse. What was the longest one? Donau-Dampfschifffahrtsgesellschaftskapitäns Rentenversicherungsvertreter?
Yeah, there are also so many nice Ks and Rs and whatever in there. People like that. Let's speak Russian. And 5 seconds is the gap, so we're in for a treat at the lead.
There are 13 laps to go. On lap 29, when we get to lap 30, then it's 13 laps. And yeah, the final battle, so to say, Donald Prodan's last stand. I think either way, whether he comes first or second, Ezio Favero, who is definitely not Enzo Ferrari, will be very happy with the performance of his Scuderia Favero driver and be very happy that he entrusted that number 4 machine to him.
Is there still a possibility that P1 and 2 need to pit for Splash and Dash?
It could be. I think Donald might actually have to Splash and Dash at this rate.
Yeah, also with Simonic is so far behind now, and he wasn't before he stopped, so yeah.
I think Yanni's pit was pretty much at the halfway mark, so he pitted basically to refuel fully and then, you know, basically carry a bit of like overweight, because it makes the car a little bit more predictable, even if it's, you know, a bit even if it's a bit heavier, so not as fast. But that's
But
the
a
thing, you know?
little bit deeper.
I mean, the thing is, like, you're carrying a bit more fuel, you're carrying more weight on the rear axle, so it's this compromise that you have to make out, you know, whether you want to have peak pace but a very nervous car, or a little bit more of a comfortable and consistent car, but a little bit slower.
Yes, and nobody wants to be nervous around here.
Especially with the attrition rate we've had so far. 28 started, 16 are still alive.
And let's hope everyone now sees the finish line, because I can't imagine if you're sitting in the car for 30 laps. Yeah, it's also a toll on yourself, on your mind and body, and now throw it away. Yeah, would be very, very sad.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely agree there. So I think in this case, this is one of those tracks where, you know, the attrition is just so high that I was honestly surprised we had a lead battle for as long as we did, especially the two-way and the three-way battle earlier with Donat, Janne, and Niklas. So really, really insanely impressive stuff from all three of them. Definitely some of the drives, like some of the best driving I've seen in my time as a motorsport fan, which is pretty much my entire life. And yeah, these guys have just been doing an absolutely stellar job here to keep it on the road, not just on the road at, like, you know, 20 seconds off pace or something, which is completely acceptable to do as well. You know, to finish first you must finish, but also just pushing on the limit, going these pace, these lap times. You know, it's absolutely staggering, especially with Donut with damage.
And we see him working the wheel, also the little slides here and there, and he still wants to maximize the tarmac, even with the danger of the fences and grass. But he really has to work here and there to make it stick and not crash in the lead. Now 2.3 seconds now the gap. So that in that passage, Kirsten did close the gap a little bit more again, because maybe also these are the high-speed corners where it's really tricky to catch the car if you get catched off guard.
Exactly, and in this case also, I mean, in this case it's a little funny because the 37M is a little bit lighter than it is a little bit lighter than the Tabor Lagarde, but it's also a different axle. It's a different, like, percentage of the weight at the front. So, you know, these guys are constantly just looking how to balance the car best. So I'm really, really excited to see how, you know, Kirsten will make a move.
Oh, there he is. Sooner than expected. 1.6, and he's now clearly visible in the rear mirror of the leader.
Oh, and we had our 13th PNF, that is Juri Schmidt.
Oh no, that was the Sector 3, I guess, the yellow.
Yeah, that was it, I think.
I mean, he tried hard, and also he survived stuff that he maybe shouldn't. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Also, a little bit of a, well, not fun fact, I'd say, but just a little fact about, like, a little interesting fact to know as we are going on to lap 31 now. I mentioned before that the 1955 Tourist Trophy had Dundrod was basically the reason why Mercedes withdrew from motorsport for a while. This was because there was a horrific crash on lap 1, which claimed the lives of 2 drivers, Jim Mayers and William Smith. And the track creator, Jim Pearson, actually placed 2 crosses close to a section of the track, which we've seen all too much already, which we might, if we're quick enough and have good enough eyes, good eagle vision, we might be able to see those crosses at the side of the road just after the next downhill and uphill section.
I hope it's not also for these 2 drivers, because Kirsten is now right in the back of Proden, and here's the jump.
And here we are over the crest. Now off to the left side when the gate comes, there are the 2 crosses. As a nice in memoriam. We have a replay coming up.
That's Smith.
This is Juri Smith with probably the crash that ended his race. And that is... Actually, that is Oskari Kantonen right behind him as well. And oh, hits the first wall. Slides over, hits another wall, but... Yeah. And I think that might have...
Oh my god! I think we need a 3rd cross.
That might... Well, there's already a 3rd cross. We're coming up to the section. We're coming up to the section now with, in the same year, 3rd fatal accident for Richard Manwaring's accident.
It's a harsh track.
It is a very harsh track indeed, and especially because this happened in this race had 84 laps, and this happened in I think the first 10 laps. The crash for the first 2 crosses happened on lap 1, and the crash here happened I think in lap 5 or 8, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but let me guess, the race continued and there was a winner and
Yes.
everything. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Just the same thing as with Le Mans 1955 as well.
Yeah, it was, back in the day, maybe it was like also like 10 years after the war, it was like, whatever, I don't know. I never,
No.
I did study history, but I never was, that would have been a very interesting point to focus on motorsports history. Maybe that would have been a niche where to accomplish something still.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, motorsports history is an insanely deep topic. I mean,
But
in
also
the
like
end,
the social aspect of, oh no, there's a spin.
Ooh,
Oh no.
he
it
catches it though, he catches it.
isn't. Oof. So before we start now with just focusing on that, but the social historical aspect of spectators going to the track, spectators getting killed, drivers getting killed, and stuff like that would be, I think, very interesting to make something out of it.
The thing is, they just accepted it as normal back then, and you know, that is, it is a morbidly fascinating thing to think about, because if I had the choice, if someone offered me, hey, travel back in time and see a couple of those races in person, or take part yourself, always put on hard power slide, barely hanging on to that car.
That could be the overtake now.
Ooh. A lot better rhythm of Kirsten there through the corner. Even the V12 power can't quite fight against that now. Slide. Oh, and Prodan! Can he keep it together? No, he can't keep it together. And
He's
keeps it out of the
spinning.
wall, though.
Oh no, in the end he hit it 3 times.
Yeah, but out of the big damage, so it looks virtually similar with the steering. But I think, that it's definitely visible that it's more counter-steering now required for certain maneuvers. The car's all over the place. Will he lose second and maybe third place because of that now? Oh,
Oh,
he keeps it somehow going. But this is definitely a time now where he has to repair the damage, because I frankly don't see him. I frankly don't see him continuing with the car that broken. Max Schrappe now DNF. His efforts have finally ended.
it's piling up again.
Oh,
Incidents.
that is another. No, I think that's another DNF for Schrappe.
Yeah.
So he might be reconnecting as well. I mean, either way, it's definitely still worth reconnecting for, because, you know,
Yeah.
he can still, even in the worst case, he can still get third place points. That is 3 points.
Yeah, 6 laps down is 3 laps behind. Schrappe is Lorenzo van Erven. Let's see if he reconnects in time. Or maybe he found a nice woman at a roadside and, you know.
Heading home early.
I mean, like 3 laps, 4 minutes. He can make it.
Just the Mr. Incredible meme. Yeah, I got time.
So Prodan is now 10 seconds behind Kirsten, but still 29 seconds to Sinocic. So yeah, I don't know if he can keep it on the road.
At this point, like, it's going to be one hell of a gamble that he's going to be doing.
If he repairs, he loses this position, of course. But if he doesn't, he maybe loses everything. Yeah, maybe if it's 4 laps or something like that, maybe it could have worked. But for 10 more laps, but Ted is on his way again after a huge repair.
Yep. Schrappe has also rejoined. Donna Prodan is still going. I'm wondering now if he's going to actually just try to do the splash and dash, or if he's going to do a full repair as well. But that car looks properly damaged.
And another little thing, Lynn is in the pits, so Maddie Shepard did pick up P3.
I think we just have another display error there.
It's an error. Okay, but so it's also not true that Maddie Shepard is in P3 of his of the class. Yes, 2000.
The class should be fine. The class is correct. Just the pit display seems to be a little broken.
Okay. Yeah, I have 5, so it's better. And now it's 10 laps remaining, so yeah, a long way to go for Prodan.
And yeah, he's coming in.
Yeah, now in the pits. So
and also overshooting and actually stalling the engine there as well for a round.
Okay. I wondered why he doesn't reverse then immediately, but yeah, that's also tricky in these cars, I guess.
Yep.
So no auto clutch.
Also, one fun thing that you can see when you're driving cars, you can see all the old scoreboards. So, like, the leaders at Dungot. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then, like, the mile an hour average on that lap. And also, like, basically like the old Indianapolis scoreboard, but horizontal instead of vertical, basically along the pit building. But that seems to be quite a long pit stop for Donut, so I think he's repairing the damage as well.
Yeah, but is it enough to re-enter the race in front of Salminen?
That is going to be the big question now. All eyes are fixed on that. And he joins just behind Lari Salminen. And that suspension looks completely fixed now for me. Steering is straight. Bodywork seems to be hammered out a little bit, so...
So it's 7 seconds. Could be possible for him to regain P3.
That could indeed be possible. We're looking at the peak pace he was doing 420 with a broken axle. Compared to 425, 421. Off Salminen, Liam Dolan comes in for his pit stop. Having had a relatively relaxed race, but nevertheless, no, still carrying on quite well.
Now 56 seconds to P2. So that's comfy. So even if he has to do a splash and dash, I think that's no biggie.
Yeah, it should be all good. But I think at this point, unless there's damage, we'll have seen pretty much all of the pit stops, I think. He is actually still pushing hard, so Prodam gonna try with all of his might to catch Lari Salminen. Either way, this will basically mean that, Tabor Lagarde will be equal with Favero again in the manufacturer standings. So the best car of each manufacturer scores points on that. So in this case, it would be first place of Niklas Kirsten for Tabor Lagarde and second place of Yanis Simoncic for Favero. Then the third place in the manufacturer standings would be Matt Wright with the Mazzantini. Fourth place actually would be Cummings from Robin DeVos in P9 overall. Fifth place would be the OSA of Darren Andrews. And sixth place would be Briswell. So also a very nice addition that OSA and Briswell will be catching their first points in the manufacturer standings. If they finish like this, of course.
There's again trouble in Sector 1. As the yellow flag is blinking on and off, there should be maybe a little bit more to that.
I think it's because Van Aven is in the pits.
Ah, okay.
With the pit lane not being separated, it can sometimes be a little bit,
Wonky.
aggressive there. And Kirsten DNF? No
What?
way!
What?
Niklas Kirsten in an uncontested lead.
Huh?
With a big crash at the beginning of the lap. Right where Simoncic is passing now. Flipping the car.
Yep, now he's DNF in the standings.
Trying to get the car back around, but getting stuck on the wall.
And it's your fault. You said if they finish that. Wait.
Oh my goodness.
So that was
I'm
the yellow
guessing
flag in Sector 1, I guess, then.
Yeah, that was most definitely the yellow flag in Sector 1, and my goodness, that is heart-wrenching with Kirsten with such a fantastic run.
Huh? What is that?
Yeah, well, downshift to second gear and a bit too aggressive. Basically, yeah, rear axle locks up.
There's the gearbox on the road.
No, that was the suspension.
Oh, it was the suspension. Thought it was the shifter with the gearbox lying around there. There was the rage. The rage. You think he wanted to try to get around?
I think he tried to turn around and basically got stuck on the wall there even more.
It looked more like ultimate rage.
I mean, I also would absolutely, you know,
bite the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a new overall leader. So Gianni now in P1, the fastest man on track with his 4:17.491, which he did hit, I don't know, 10 laps ago or something like that.
I have to say that it always seems like so. It was at Longford like this. It was here at Dundrod like this. The Rafa crew, they're not on flat-out race pace the fastest guy. They get like fastest laps or something, you know, or contend for it. But on full race pace, they aren't the fastest guys. But they sure as hell are always the most consistent ones. So while others just get caught up in the exhaustion in the late race area, Ross McGregor, Yanni Simoncic, both of them just managed to make it through and now somehow be in the position to win the race again.
Yeah, right. And now he has the common lead by nearly a minute. And Proden is chasing down Salminen. So, yeah, and as we saw, he scratched the grass. He scratched maybe a little bit of a fence there. So he's really pushing to get back into P2 now. So he has his podium with the DNF. But yeah, still a long way to go with 8 laps.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But my goodness, what a twist in the last race. Well, in the last couple of stages of the race, I mean.
Yeah, much drama, of course. So if anyone thought this is all through and a done deal, no, it isn't. And still things can happen. Oh, there was also a slight wiggle.
Yeah, the thing is, Yanni Simoncic, you know, even if he's leading quite comfortably, he's not the guy that then goes, okay, yeah, I can just coast it home now. He still has fun at the wheel, you can see it. Yeah, always great to have him along as well, you know, not just as a driver, you know, also really humble guy, really relaxed and calm guy. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him at the Sim Formula Expo in Maastricht earlier this year. And it was a really, really fun moment because Martin Bayer, the winner of round 1 in the 3-liter class, actually was there as well. So if we had Oskari Kantonen and Jake William there as well, so, you know, Mr. GP Labs himself, then we would have had the end, and because David Morocek, Yanni's old teammate, was there, if we had Jake and Oskari there as well, then we would have had the entire podium of the second ever event that was run in this community, the 1,000 kilometers of Brianza. But unfortunately, we didn't have those two there, but yeah, we had the P1 drivers and the P3 drivers there. And, you know, was enough for me there.
Yeah, so much for the community.
It's just, you know, always great with all these potential meetups that we have. You know, it's people just being able to meet each other, being connected by sim racing, and I think overall It's a quite nice community. It's been building up steadily over the past, 1.5 years now. And we've been making very good progress, I'd say. Next year we're going to be in here with even more racing, and hopefully then we have even more people who are interested in racing here.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Carmen actually has driven that entire race by himself. He's just been in a very relaxed place. He's just been unbothered by everyone else exploding around him, and is basically coasting back home to cash in wonderful second place points. And quite frankly, since I didn't see any mistakes from him in the meantime, it might even be not just second place points, but also, also consistency point as well. So, yeah, Dundrod, a very unforgiving mistress. A butcher, so to say. And, once again, really, really hard to see all these guys DNFing. 50% attrition rate at this point. It's almost World War II Soviet tank statistics.
Sorry.
That's a good old T-34. Assembled by people that never learned how to weld.
Yeah, at least they didn't construct airplanes or race cars, so good.
But you see, they did. That's it. Actually, fittingly, since we have historic race cars here, yes, Robin DeVos is getting the final pit stop in. I have to remember his name, like his first name, but John Walter Christie was a guy that was developing, he wanted to build Le Mans race cars in like the 1920s, and raced like in the early 1900s with in Grand Prix racing. And basically he wanted to build more race cars for Le Mans, but no one wanted him to build race cars, so no one wanted to contract him. So instead he went to the Soviet Union and wanted to build race cars there, and they basically went, no, we also don't want race cars. And instead he went, well, can I build a self-propelled gun?
Mm-hmm.
And can I build a tank? So he built the BT5 and BT7, which had the unique feature of being able to take the tracks off, and then you can steer it with a normal road steering wheel.
Okay.
So actually made a unique suspension type, the Christie suspension, which a lot of Soviet tanks used later on.
That's crazy.
Yeah, classic madness of the mid-20th century.
At least he did turn it around and is able to drive. And he's in P2, right? Yeah, he is.
Yep.
Yes, 3000. Yeah. 4 laps down, but doesn't matter, as we said before.
They're still in front of Max Verstappen though for position.
Oh yeah.
And on the same lap. So they're basically, I think, around 40 seconds apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a question of if Verman can basically just keep the car together until the end of the race.
Yeah, it's still a long way around, so If Schrappe doesn't have another disconnect, it could be possible to take P2.
Absolutely. And speaking of taking P2, Prodan has now started to close the gap even more. It was 8 seconds, 9 seconds at the beginning, then it was 6, now it is 3. Darren Andrews, also a man that stayed out of trouble for the entire race, stayed consistent. Normally someone that very, very often raced the Bristol, the Briswell, in many different leagues and enjoyed it quite a lot. But when the new patches came, he was quite a big fan of this OSA T44 and decided to come down into the 1.5 liter class. Very, very light, fun little car to race. Now back to the heavy, very fun cars to race. Once again, now this time with other participants, watching the battle of Tabor Lagarde against Favero 37P. 4.5 liter straight 6 against 5 liter V12. Italy versus France, also almost be a football match. Now 1 second apart. As we now make our way past the third cross on the left side here. Almost like he's trying to pull the handbrake there to get it around faster.
But gap under 2 seconds, so yeah, there's a good chance for him. At least fight for P2. So normally from pace-wise, that should be a clean deal, but I think in this late stage of the race, Salminen will not wave him by.
Yeah, I absolutely doubt it as well. But either way, Prodan with a big, big slide somehow keeps it out of the wall there.
It's not the first time at that spot, but that was the biggest one.
I am wondering, did he not change tires? Did he only repair the damage? Because in that case, these tires obviously went through a lot of heat degradation. So even when they're cooler now, they still lost a lot of their maximum grip. Now trying to be a lot more conservative, trying to take these corners a lot softer, a lot more careful. To make his way through. The gap shrinks again, but like when he has these moments, these huge moments now. Or like here again, look at that, completely sideways through the corner before the bridge, and again sideways through this one. He is gaining time bit by bit, but just completely unable to completely capitalize on that pace advantage he has. And Salminen saw what's going on in his rearview mirror and thought, hey, I can do this as well. Not that he should at the moment, but I have to tell you, Sepp, I'm not looking forward to a battle this late, because these guys, you can tell they're exhausted.
And this was for the spectators, of course. And in the end, always a battle of this kind for the podium for P2 is some drama may be involved. And yeah, as you said, if the tires are down, the wearing isn't a good, how is it said? If the tires are not good, it will be difficult to make a clean pass. And as our interview guest explained, if you go off the line, there's less grip. Yeah, can be trouble.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree there. Liam Dolan also now putting a lap in. Now getting the fastest lap of the 3-liter class, so showing that not only did he win this on consistency alone, but also on very good pace. And, you know, perseverance, keeping it out of the wall. But of course, still a few more laps to go. Those tires are squealing for mercy. Late on the brakes, very, very late. It goes deep actually, but he might be trying that to get a bit more of a better run. Just look at that car control of both of them. In these late stages in the race, ladies and gentlemen, these guys have been racing for almost 3 hours now. 5 laps left to go as Yanis Simancic crosses the line. Once again through the quarry section. These fast to medium speed corners, almost like the SSF Circuit of the Americas in Austin, just with a lot more depth and a lot less runoff. And this is where the Tabor Lagarde of Jari Salminen wins quite a lot of time. The weight and the amount of, well, the lacking amount of slides that he has done in the last couple of laps really making itself noticeable here. Next up, we have another one for position. Shouldn't be too long, but nevertheless, Yangshi Li doing one of their first overtakes on Darren Andrews in the 1.5 liter OSA. Really is still quite a few bad routes. People having to count obviously on to having to count for potential mistake that their opponents will do, but obviously not being able to rely on that. Steve Carman makes it up to P11 when he crosses the corner where Niklas Kirsten crashed. 14 cars left out of 28 that started.
And am I mistaken, or wasn't the lead like 50 seconds and now it's just 30? Yeah, so... Yeah, so Salminen also closes down, yeah.
Yeah, I think Simancic is taking a bit of steam out of it now, basically just wanting to finish the race. Especially they might lose time again if they're fighting again. Now through the lower part here, almost like a mini Eau Rouge and Radio. Now making their way, about to hit traffic, and if I saw that correctly, that should be the Bofield Engineering car. Now going through Jordan's Cross, making their way up to Wheeler's Corner.
Is it a good spot for a move?
Well, if we're going by Jackson Robillard, and I would quite believe him there, there's no such thing as a good spot for a move around here. It's all very, very dicey. The question is now, who will break later? Both of them break approximately similarly, but both of them are incredibly nervous. Tejo is also right in front of him there.
Yeah, I think put a car to the inside in the hairpin is a last lap maneuver, but not now.
Oh, the 3-liter plus class flying past again. Samajic starting another lap, 4 laps to go. Salmon just really good car control, but he's just lacking that top-end power and the confidence around the middle part of the circuit that lets Prodan constantly catch back up to him.
Yeah, but Prodan did catch the last corner this time much better.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, again, like Salminen is able to just gap 2, 3, 4 tenths on him there, and just stays completely calm. You know, the car is completely straight. There's barely any slides, barely any slip angle. Basically, just focusing on driving cleanly. Also really nice to see just different driving styles here. You know, some people prefer more oversteery cars, some more understeery. You know, some people like to throw the tail end out. Some people just prefer to, you know, enter normally into the corner. And these cars allow for all of that. You know, that is the great part. So you can see all these different driving styles, all these different, you know, approaches to racing lines as well.
Yeah, also what you talked about with the degradation of the tires, and maybe he didn't switch them. Maybe that's a factor in there, because it's so difficult for him to keep the car behind P2, and yeah, not really able to make an attack.
Oh, like here, Salmon covers the inside. Runs a little bit wide even. Both of them hitting the inside wall there. Donut hitting the outside earth wall there a bit as well. Now comes the power of the Favero though. Is he able to make it stick enough? No, not quite. Can't get enough power out of the car to make it around the outside. Larry Salminen really getting everything out of that 4.5 liter straight 6 turbo engine. A 5-year-old car design, and still keeping up with state-of-the-art Italian Favero technology. But he makes a pass. Now, can Salminen counter in any way? That is the question here next. But I don't think he can at the moment.
Yeah, but in the end, he really maybe did take his time, watch for several laps where he could make it happen. And there are definitely corners where he can't. Also, as you said, because of the specs of the cars.
There's another car, that's the Cummins R54C.
And here's the best part for Salminen.
Yeah, now comes the quarry section again. Salmon is obviously looking to profit off of this section now. Rear tires on Prodan's car seem to be done a little bit already. Maybe even has a little bit lower fuel, so that would mean as well that less weight on the rear axle, of course more agile, but also more aggressive. The rear end will break out more easily.
It could be through the final corner.
Closing. So much more momentum there. And now taking the slipstream down the front stretch. But Prodan also with slipstream from the Cummings. Can he get it alongside? Not quite yet, but sitting right behind the bottom, right behind the number plate of the Favero. Both taking a bit of grass. Salmon taking a little bit more. Car's unsettled, barely catches it. They make their way to Leatherstown corner once again, where the other Tabor Lagarde tragically crashed. And Salmon once again uses this now as another attack of opportunity. Not quite getting alongside, looking inside, outside, trying to make a move. The car's a lot more plantar-free. These lower powers, these medium speed power sections, a lot more pleasant when you have 280 horses to put on the road instead of 330. Again, quite a bit better momentum, also a little bit tighter in the corner. Now chasing him down the hill again to quarter lengths. And Prodan with a big one! Barely catches it in contact! No!
Impossible.
Contact with both cars! The Voss barely goes past unscathed. And Prodan has stalled it.
Oh no,
Getting the engine, trying to get this engine started again. There we are. Angry, of course. Frustrated, barely keeps the engine alive there. That was far above the safe rate of the car. At the same time, Salmon, and also I think that was basically a textbook racing incident, just looking at it in the heat of the moment, because Prodan hits the outside, starts having a fishtail, and Salmon tries to go past. Obviously can't quite find a way past, and then Gunnar comes a little bit further, hits both of them. The cars drag each other into the wall. Luckily, both of them able to carry on. Yeah, I think that is a textbook racing incident, to be honest.
Yeah, drama. Yeah, we called it drama, and it did happen.
This is not the drama I wanted. I just wanted more people to... No, joking aside. Yeah, absolutely insane stuff in the last 3 laps of the race.
I mean, it's still a podium for Prodan.
Oh, either way, absolutely. I'm just sure that after that drive, he just doesn't want to have a podium. He'll want that P2 at least, especially because he was fighting for, well, what would have been P1 earlier. Up until, well, the extra additional hit. Oh, Tedo going for a scenic drive.
Collecting some fruits on the road.
Oh, that is at That is at Quarterlands. Outbraking himself and just choosing the way straight ahead, I guess. Costs a lot of time, but not a bad choice to make. Two laps to go now.
There he is. Ooh.
Okay.
It's good that so much of the exterior of the track is rendered in R-Factor.
Yep.
In iRacing, that would be a path to the Shadow Realm and back to the pits.
It's actually really incredible. So basically the work in progress track of Italo Tracks, Pescara, that has legitimately like I think up to like 2 or 3 kilometers into the like hills and stuff beyond the track, has it fully rendered. But like the level of detail is so adjusted that it's not going to impede the performance as much. So really well configured track that I can't wait to host a race on next year. I think Prodan's got nothing left in the kettle now. Not too happy, I imagine, after that incident. I think that might be a report in the end from either of them, but I'm not sure who yet.
For a leader of the class, that was pretty close.
Yeah. But he's got it under control, I'm sure. Now, Andrew is usually a specialist for Targa Florio. Quite familiar around that circuit in a 2-liter car, but he will take some action with a 1.5 liter anywhere else as well. Around the hairpin for the last time. Well, the second to last time.
Yeah, what an honor here, also for us here in the booth and the drivers to make this event happen, I would say. And it's a championship, so there are more races to come.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I want to note here, the maximum grid capacity of this series is 50 cars. So, as you could see today, 28 showed up. There's plenty more capacity to go. So, ladies, gentlemen, and those of the colorful rainbow in between, if you want to be part of this as well, I can only encourage you to sign up, join the Discord, see which cars are still available, test the cars, get on the practice server, and then whichever car tickles your fancy, get in here and join us racing. I'd be very delighted to see a full grid of 50 cars at Le Grand Circuit at the beginning of November. And hopefully we can see some plenty of new faces there as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So if anyone out there liked what they have seen, just join in. And I think, as I heard, it's not so cost intensive to be racing on R-Factor 2.
All you have to own is the sim itself, and everything else, the mods, the tracks, everything is free. At least the ones we use. Discord link is in the description, so you know what to do. Press that funny link, join the funny Discord, and drive the funny cars. Now driving a final lap, and Simmons is just coasting back home now. And actually, drama in the last lap.
What?
Drama in the last lap.
How much drama?
Levenstown corner claims the second Tabor Lagarde.
Where is he?
He is.
Isn't there a bridge?
It would appear so.
There's a bridge, right? Oh no?
Yep, there's the bridge.
Okay, a bridge for a river? Not at
Luckily,
all.
the river seems to be dry. And Prodan still gets second place after all on the final lap. Due to a driving error of Salmon.
My god. Good, we have no driver's radio in this case.
There would be a lot of censoring. Oh well, not, because it's 1950s and people still, you know, didn't really care too much about that.
Can be happy they don't smoke while driving.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Ted Ho actually did do a cigar review while he was racing at Longford. Simoncic slowly making his way past. That is Steve Carman in 11th place overall. Both of them just coasting back home.
And now it's yeah, the drive to the finish line for Jenny, and yeah, he has the triumph in his hands to win here tonight. And of course, with all the drama and all the stuff going on, and yeah, there was a sustainable lead for Prodan, but it didn't work out. There was the big lead for Kirsten, which didn't work out. So yeah, what a race. And the last time, the hairpin. Don't get stuck here.
It pulls the handbrake. Actually pulls the handbrake. Classic. Yeah, that's around the hairpin for the last time, now making his way towards and through the quarry section.
Fastest lap, race win. There's not much more, maybe consistency, but I don't know if that happens for him.
Now that's the big question now. Who would actually get the consistency award here?
But in the end, I think everyone who sees the last flag is very, very happy to have accomplished a big thing here tonight. With 50% crashed and out. And this is the final time.
Comes across the line.
Waving to the pits.
Comes across the line, celebrating his victory. Janez Simoncic takes victory. Next to the flag waver. Steve Carman takes his second place early. Donald Prodan makes his way around the long final corner.
Oh.
Flag waver. There's two flag wavers. They made deals with two different people and were too hung up on, you know, promising both of them what they gave. And yeah, so now we have two. Larry Salmon makes his way through the last part of the quarry section. Last corner, making his way past the flag wavers away, taking third place overall and in class. Incredibly well done. Now our eyes are who will cross the line next. Robin DeVos already finished.
And I think, yeah, they're in between, yeah, right.
Yeah, next one would be Danny Furman. The long and arduous race. After crashes, flips, and being stuck on the side of the circuit, they qualified in first place in class, but unfortunately couldn't quite translate it after that incredibly huge start accident. But despite that, being almost 3 minutes back, translating that into a longevity-based survival second place, getting a wonderful podium out of this horrific race for them. A very good recovery drive from Danny Furman and Amici Autosport.
And he did it, reconnected, and now running to a podium. I mean, there was a little bit of luck involved, of course, but in the end, it's a well-deserved finish.
Absolutely, and speaking of well-deserved finishes, next up, third place in 3 liter, Max Schrappe takes it across the line. 2 disconnects couldn't stop him, neither could the accidents that were in between. As he makes it across the line, bringing the Morgenstern to third place in class. Next up, Ted Ho, helping out Jason Fields, getting across the line in a well-deserved 5th place in the 2 liter class.
And another class winner, right? Yeah, Dolan, of course.
Matt Wright already finished, so he snuck through somewhere. Next up, though, our 3 liter class winner, Liam Dolan, makes his way across. Consistency, racecraft, and in the end, speed, bringing him from start to finish after oblique qualifying. A fantastic race. Next up, Oskari Kantonen, masterclass in itself in the 2 liter class. The maestro from HRSC at Dundrod strikes again with a convincing class victory. And next up, Darren Andrews. Very hard fight against the Gollinis with the disc brakes. The OSA struggling, of course, hard in overall braking performance with the older drum brakes in comparison. But nevertheless, it's continuing on. And deservedly getting a class win. Next up, the results, as we have our balloons flying around. Now waiting for the class results. There we are with Simancic in first, Donat Prodan second, Rari Salminen in third, Robin de Vos in a 4th place in the Cummings. Then Nicholas Kirsten in 5th in a tragic late race accident. Jack Wells in a very, very tragic crash as well in 6th. Tom D, not father but the son. Tom D in 7th place, also due an early crash. Declan Brush and Valtteri Manninen in very early crashes, sadly lost to us as well. That is the 3 liter plus class this race. Next up, the 3 liter. Liam Dolan takes it home after 41 laps, only 1 lap down. Gets the win for Écurie Atlantique Nord in his Favero 705M. Next car is also Favero 705M with Amici Autosports. Danny Furman with a convincing 2nd place, showing that tenacity can bring good results as well. Same can be said for Max Schrappe in the Morgenstern in 3rd place. After that, we have Gerard Trion with a huge engine blow up. Chris Gordon with a big crash in 5th. And Jackson Robillard, unfortunately, with a crash in turn 2 of the race, finishing in last in class. Next up, 2 liters, Oskari Kantonen. Doesn't need an introduction. Absolute masterclass today in driving, bringing the Écurie Atlantique Nord Favero 50M in 2 liter into the class win and in 4th place overall. Matt Wright, 1 place behind him, both in class and overall, bringing it into 41 laps. Squadra di Garagisti with Mazzantini bringing another result for the championship. Matty Shepard improves upon the result. Last round, Vulcan Racing Mazzantini, number 34, in third place. Next up comes Yuan Lin, new teammate to Niels Senkowski in the Wilksport Briswell. After 40 laps with fourth place, Ted Ho brings the Bofield Engineering Mazzantini after taking care from Jason Fields and brings it to fifth place in class. Juri Smith unfortunately lost to us in a DNF after a very, very big crash. And Austin Birchfield, unfortunately the same, but a little bit earlier in the race. Last but not least, the 1.5 liter class, Darren Andrews takes the class win for the Intercontinental Racing Sports Club in the OSA T44. Steve Carman is the second finisher and our last finisher in the 1500cc class with a Team Fate Racing Porsche 505, the only rear engine card in the number 37 car. Next up, Erwin Bourgier, unfortunately a DNF with a big crash. Adam Komorowski in a huge crash as well, flying over the top of Donat Prodan. Jerry Ferry also in a big crash, lost to us. And last but not least, Mark Johnson leaving the race early with a big accident himself. A 50% attrition rate in this race, but now it is time for our interviews with the race winners. And first of all, we have, well, at this point, I'm pretty sure a voodoo practitioner, because I don't know how you guys keep doing it. Yanni Simoncic, how many voodoo dolls did you go through? So everyone but you would hit some sort of misfortune.
I mean, I don't know about dolls and stuff. I know about hedges and about the bushes. I visited many of them several times. I have my favorite hedge now around this track, which I went through a couple of times, and it's very nice. It feels very, very soft.
You'll be at home now.
almost feels like at home, but no, it was such a mentally draining challenge. Like, you can go flat out for 3 laps, but then you will be having to go off pace quite a bit for many laps.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine that. And let me ask you: did you have any doubt originally in the qualifying pace? Since Nicholas looked very, very fast, then Donat also, of course, incredibly speedy around here. Ladi, very strong. So the Tabor Lagarde's a lot stronger here than at Longford. Were there any doubts you were fighting with?
For sure. In the quali, like, I was constantly crashing on the outlaps. I did like a 4 minute 17 in practice, but in quali I was just nowhere on pace, and it felt crazy. Like, I was talking with chat like that I still need to convince them that I'm actually able to drive a lap around the track. And then I just I noticed when I was doing a fuel tank run at the end of warm-up that the car feels a lot better, and then I realized, oh yes, this car is actually really nice in some corners with full tank and really bad on low fuel. So I thought, well, that will help me, but let's just make the start safe, and then let's see what happens. And actually then slowly but surely I convinced myself that I'm able to have some pace, and suddenly I was leading the race. So yeah, there were quite some mental barriers to be broken.
Absolutely, but I think now with this, you've definitely convinced your chat that you can race this track. But yeah, either way, do you want to do any shout-outs to sponsors, teammates, family?
I mean, what can I say? Massive shout out and thank you to the Rafa Racing Club for all the support that they give to me, and that they support me with the streaming as well, so I can both race and stream at the same time in kind of acceptable fashion, or maybe better and better as the race progresses, or as the races progress. So yeah, thank you to the whole club and all the Rafa guys.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Then you can go ahead and celebrate properly, my friend. very well done, and see you on the track for the César du Grand.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you for organizing all this. It's massive fun.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you very much for taking part. Right, then next up, we don't have...
Huh? Who?
Rubber Ducky isn't Liam Dolan. Rubber Ducky is Ted Ho. That is... where is Mr. Dolan? Yeah, let's do Darren next. Let's get we had the biggest class, now we're taking the smallest class. Here's Mr. Andrews. Hello there.
Oh, hello, team, commentary team.
Long race.
Oh yeah, I'll sleep very well tonight, and I'm just absolutely elated to get to the end, because that's what it was all about today. Such a tough track.
I mean, not just making it to the end, but also getting the class win. So exactly what you were hoping for this round.
Yeah, so I've got a great little battle going with the Gallinis / Gordinis, Irvan, Quentin, and Jerry. All very quick drivers in a car that I think is a little quicker in a straight line, but I've probably got a little better of a handling car, so it'll be fascinating across the season. But they shot off into the distance at the start. I'm not sure whether they were working together, but I suspect they were, and I knew that I wasn't going to match them on pace, so at that point I just decided to put the queue in the rack and try and get it home, and I almost managed not to do that. I did have an accident at one point, but luckily it wasn't too much damage. Was far enough in front of everyone else in my class to pit and fix the damage and get to the end.
Either way, you preserved yourself, you preserved the car, you preserved the tires, but nevertheless, still with very good pace, has to be said.
Yeah, I as you know, mate, I like to probably do more practice than anyone else, and I was able to get into a rhythm with this car and do late 30s, 38s, 39s, just relatively easily without pushing too hard. The problem with these cars is how much the handling transforms from high fuel to low fuel. It's crazy how loose they get. And my tactic was I was going to pit once and put a little bit more fuel than I needed to keep the stability there, but I was actually glad that I pitted twice in the end, and I just filled it up in the second stop, and that probably saved me a lot of drama at the end of the race. But yeah, very, very happy with the consistency and pace.
Well, any shout-outs that you want to do here?
To you, mate, I'd like to see you on track next week, teammate, or next round, please.
That is the plan, at least, but...
No, just thanks, Austin, for your support in the chat. And congrats to all the class winners and anyone who made it to the end of the race today. Did a fantastic job. So I'm really looking forward to watching the broadcast back in an hour or so. But thanks, team.
Yeah, thank you very much for racing, of course, and see you on the track in France.
Will do.
Right, and then next up, we could finally get him, the Maestro. 2-liter class winner, and, already infamous before this race at this circuit, Oskari Kantonen. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, my wrists are shattered. The constant little vibration through the FFB, they are like numb.
But just quickly, walk us through the race. Were there any bigger challenges, or was it basically just another Sunday drive for you? Because, obviously we don't have just pensionists in the field or something. We do have some quite decent caliber drivers here. But nevertheless, you still made it look pretty easy around here.
Yeah, I hoped I would be in overall contention, but it was pretty obvious that I lacked the pace for that, so I just tried to take the class win. I had two big moments in the race, otherwise it was pretty smooth.
And yeah, overall, we had quite a few situations in traffic. Were there any bigger moments for you as well?
Yeah, once I think there were 2 traffic moments as well, where someone made a mistake in front of me, unfortunately, and I had to avoid. But usually I was taking them so easy that I didn't have to push past anyone.
Yeah, but either way, really, really impressive drive from you. And well, my next question, and honestly my final question, so you can rest your wrists, I want to ask is just how do you extract that much pace from the car around here? Like, I'm way too terrified of each side what's right next to the track to push fully on the limit, and you're just going, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I was driving like 4 seconds off my my absolute pace, 4 to 6 seconds of the qualifying pace all race, and more than 10 seconds in the end. So I don't know. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not that easy. Somehow the track really suits me and these cars.
4 to 6 seconds of your qualifying pace and still in a very convincing manner. Bloody hell. Well, folks, on that note, we will end with a lesson. You know, if you're thinking you can be fast, there's always going to be an Oskari Kantonen. But yeah, do you want to do any shout-outs to teammates, to family, anyone?
I'd like to shout out Liam for finishing first in the class, finishing the race and finishing first in the class. A big accomplishment. I can only lift my hat to him. Great job.
Nice shout out to the teammate. And yeah, Mr. Dolan would be here otherwise as well, but he is, well, being abducted by his dog to walk it. So we'll take that as an excuse. The dog says the race was rough. The pun. And yeah, on that note, I think we will close a very long, a very challenging race in Northern Ireland. And I would be very happy if I could welcome everyone back for the next race, the 6 hours of Le Grand, or 6 heures du Grand in French, in France at the iconic 24-hour circuit on November 2nd. And yeah, welcome you either as drivers, participants, or whatever floats your boat. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, my name is Nicholas Hillebrand. I've been joined today by Seb, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.